Hello.
Hello! This is 俺たちの漫言はこれからだ, the podcast where we talk about Weekly Shonen Jump. Each week, all of the series that we're reading, except the ones that we're not reading, will be discussed.
That's right.
My name is Maxi Hamburger, and to my left, your right is Percival. Hello.
Yeah. So what are the ones we're not reading this week?
The ones that we're not reading are Highschool Family, Mission Yozakura Family, Undead Unluck, and Mashle. And of note, what's on hiatus this week of Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 40 is Hunter x Hunter, Ruridragon, Witch Watch, and One Piece. So
that's so many on hiatus. Wow.
I think that means we'll be through in a jiffy.
A short episode.
Relatively.
Maybe.
But a new series is starting,
right.
which is Daitokyo Oniyomeden, also known as Tokyo Demon Bride story.
Yeah.
Which obviously takes the
Doron's place.
Well, that and also the cover of the whole issue.
Yeah, there it is. There's that demon bride right there.
Yeah, there's probably not that much to say about the cover itself, but about the series. So let's jump right into
Here we go. New series. There's that the new stickers right there.
Yeah, this is the one that gets posted as the series header.
Yeah.
Incidentally, actually that's the cover. Yeah. Just differently cropped. Anyways, do we have some wait, let me check. Is anything of note in the difference between the Japanese and the English color spread?
Yeah. His true or her true life is only just beginning.
The thing is, the Japanese logo,
it's so much bigger. Why is the English version so dinky? And
it's because it doesn't
even have that gradient on it. What's up with that?
I have a suspicion. Let me.
All right, tell me your conspiracy about this English title.
So the thing is, it takes a lot of effort to make a proper logo. The way that the Japanese text looks and converting that into not
that's
Japanese.
all custom drawn.
Yes. So you would need to commission somebody to do that in English. But if the series only lasts for about as long as Doron,
it wouldn't be worth it.
It wouldn't be worth it. So maybe they're waiting.
See how it does. Yeah.
Until then, they use this kind of probably free font found online.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically always buy the Japanese issue if you care about this kind of stuff. I mean, it's also got a lot of Japanese text, but that's just editorial stuff.
So looking at this cover, I'm assuming everyone in the background is some form of yokai as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the armpit on the girl on the top right. This artist knows what he's doing.
Yeah. So the story, the premise, I think you actually previewed me on the premise because of the one shot last week.
Yeah, the one shot is essentially 100% identical to what has been presented in the magazine.
Yeah.
A few things might have changed, I think, but if you've read that sometime before, or maybe in the meantime, then you're probably up to speed what's to be expected in this series. So this is a manga about a dude named Jinta who in his childhood saved a demon girl named Manaka from drowning and then promised to marry her in 10 years because 6-year-olds are a little bit too young.
Kids do that sometimes. And it happened in Astra, Lost in Space as well. Yeah.
Oh, does it?
More recently, yeah. There's one of the characters, or a couple of characters who promised to marry each other as kids. Not a spoiler. I think they say it in their intro.
Do they?
I think
I
so.
don't remember.
Yeah,
Either
they
way,
do more about it later. And either way, Jinta does this and then just promptly forgets about it once he goes back to Tokyo.
yeah,
So
which
flash
is
forward to
weird.
10 years. What? You
It's
thought it was
weird.
that he forgot it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is a pretty memorable event, you would think. I don't think... yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think he actually
whether
noticed that Manaka was a demon, but he
that
did.
too.
Yeah, he saves this girl, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, we can get married in 10 years." And then he's like, "Oh, I'm going home."
The
And then
thing
just doesn't think about her at all for 10 years.
Yeah. So it's weird that he forgets, even though, like, what is the cutting off point where you would determine that your consciousness started? I think
Most
was
people
like
say that they're around 3 when they
3.
they still remember things pretty well. Because like before that, then your long-term memory parts of your brain are just not very well developed. So
Yeah.
most people are like, yeah, I can't remember anything from before I was 3. I was just a little baby.
I think I remember everything starting at 4. So I feel it's weird that this guy at age 6, maybe even 7, since he's 1 year older than Manaka.
Maybe, although maybe there's going to be a reason for why he forgot it.
Yeah, okay, fine.
Maybe, yeah.
Fine. It's just so weird that he doesn't even understand. He doesn't even remember some of the details that, like, she gets out all of the information. She's like,
yes.
It was in this prefecture, and you were visiting your grandparents, and you were fishing me out of the water. And he's like, wow, she's making up a whole backstory that has zero grounds in reality.
You're getting a bit ahead of it, because first we got to get to his reintroduction. So Jinta gets reintroduced as a 17-year-old. And
by the way, this part is new from the one shot. In the one shot, he wasn't shown to be working.
Well, I like this. It shows he's a...
Yes, it's good. He's working, and he's kind of really fit.
Yes, we see that he's pretty muscular from all his work, because he does lots of odd jobs to keep the house.
Heavy lifting.
Yep, lots of heavy lifting. And just like our protagonist, also recently introduced from Alien's area, he lives just with him and his 2 siblings, except one of them is older than him in this one. And I
think in the one shot, both of them were older. Maybe
really?
I think
weird to have both of them.
It's relatively pandery, and what's even weirder is the reveal that one of them is his stepsister.
Yeah. It's the older one,
and
in this?
Yes, the older one. Yeah. And I have a suspicion that the younger one, suspicion, by logic and reasoning, that must be his half-sister then. Which, by harem logic, means they're fair game.
Yeah, just from chapter 1, it's set him up with a childhood friend and a stepsister and a half sister. He's getting so many tropes already, this guy. Anyway, so his full name is Hanafuda Jinta, and I was like, Hanafuda, that's like those old-timey playing cards, right?
Correct.
And
that's what
Tanjiro from Demon Slayer has Hanafuda earrings, doesn't he? I think I've seen people calling his earrings Hanafuda.
Yes, I was on Twitter saying the series has nothing to do with Demon Slayer, but actually that's the second relatively direct reference to it.
Yeah.
First of all, I would guess that
probably not a direct reference to Demon Slayer, but just they're both referencing, the same thing.
Right.
From Nintendo history.
Because somebody was saying that this one's got demons in it, so it must be Demon Slayer.
But it's not Demon Slayer.
To switch. That's
Demon
the
Lover.
thing. That's the weird thing. In Demon Slayer, it's just named Demon Slayer, but the demons are actually just vampires.
Yeah, they're not.
Right.
That is one thing that always bothered me about Demon Slayer,
That they don't call them
revealed the nature of them. It's like, oh, they are vampires. They all come from just one like head Dracula.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. I think since Demon Slayer is set in the Taisho era, that means that they don't know yet what a vampire is.
Yeah,
I would like this is my educated guess that the word Kyuketsuki for vampire in Japanese, blood-sucking demon, that already has the key of Kimetsu.
So it probably comes from that. Yeah,
it's basically like it's just it's a description of a demon who sucks blood. So using the oni, the same one as in here, Daitokyo Oni Yomeden, that's not like they are both
Oni is more
demons.
Specific. Yeah,
but in Demon Slayer, it's just a description for what they can't describe yet because they don't know that vampires are real.
Yeah.
And this demon,
unlike in real life, where we know that vampires are real.
Well, I'm an elf, so
this one.
Let me tell you about some things. No, I was just trying to say that this girl is one of the more traditional oni from Japanese folklore, and not a demon from Demon Slayer.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But
that's just what I wanted to
shows up
establish.
At his front door anyway, and just kind of barges into his house.
Yeah.
And she's got two like demon attendant things with her.
One of them looked really cool. I like them.
And then she goes and sits down, and she like summons cool
because the other one is a skeleton.
Yeah, skeletons are always cool. She summons a bunch of other ones, like, and a lot of these ones are not too cool looking. They're kind of goofy Spirit Away type.
Yeah,
type ghosts.
One of them bleeds on his head, and it's kind of weird. It's that's another weird thing. She tries to, since he's denying everything. Like, I don't know who you are. Your story sounds made up. I don't remember what happened 10 years ago.
But also, did you notice when he walks into the house, there's a little paper charm on the wall that seems to react to her walking in?
Yes, of course. It's a very important plot point.
Yeah, it does make me think that his forgetfulness is like, it's not just him being forgetful. There's something magical going on that's
I think that's
making him not able to remember. That's my guess. Yeah. Yeah. But even she introduces herself.
Even if there is a proper explanation for that, I don't like it.
I mean, either way, you wouldn't like it, right? If he's just forgetful, you probably wouldn't like it. So,
at the very least, I'd want the explanation right in the first chapter, because this is just leaving me hanging with a feeling like he's kind of an asshole.
I mean, it could end up something like in Witch Watch, where Moi doesn't reciprocate Nico's feelings, and it's because of the magic she accidentally
That's different. Did. He completely remembers everything. He's just kind of under the spell that prevents him from falling in love.
He just doesn't fall in love. He just considers it all as regular friendship stuff. But yeah, so the Oni girl introduces herself as Manaka Doji. And I'm like, hey, that's like Shuten Doji. Is that name suffix have some meaning?
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
That's a demon name. I don't know, wait. Let me check. Let me check real quick. I'm just talking out of my ass. There's several demons that have like something doji. Doesn't that just mean child?
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Look at the kanji.
Yeah.
I think that just means child, but that's kind of like the ending that makes you
think it's demons.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So she declares that she is going to marry him because he proposed to her 10 years ago, even though he claims to not remember that. Like you said, it's kind of weird. And then she proves that she's a demon, because first he's like, oh, is this some sort of cosplay? But she proves to him by summoning all these creepy attendants, and he takes it really well. He's just like, okay, whatever. I'm going to school.
We have different comprehension of taking it well.
He's ignoring it, is what I mean. He just pretends that he's seeing things and leaves.
That's bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad. He leaves her in his house, and he's like,
okay,
well...
here's the part of that I thought was bad, is that she's like super clingy when she introduces herself.
Yeah, and then she just stays there.
And then she just stays in the house. What the heck? You'd think that the first chapter would be him going to school, and she's like following him to school, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
that would be normal.
That's what the thing is. It's what would be expected, and it would also be probably pretty funny.
Yeah.
So once again, here I was like, "Oh, is there some kind of magic forcing her to stay in the house?"
Really weird, especially if, like, at first he thinks she's a robber, since she has a...
Yeah. So why would he leave her in the house? Yeah, he's like, oh, there's this weird cosplayer that I don't really trust, but she claims to know me from 10 years ago.
And it was established that he
in my house.
Deeply cares about this house in particular.
Yes, he is working multiple jobs to be able to keep this house. But then he's just like, yeah, I'll leave this girl I don't remember at all to stay here, even though she's like kind of creepy. So I didn't like that part, but
the more I think about this, the less I like it.
Yeah, it's not even just one of those things that's a missed opportunity for hijinks of her going to school. It's missed opportunity, and it feels like a plot hole because it doesn't seem like this guy would just leave her there. Yeah, but going on,
and
it's just like
it's also really weird how the like, normally when somebody does a thing to prove that magic real, right?
You get more
reaction. They do a thing, then somebody gets, like, in this instance, gets a lot of blood on his shoulder, right? And then he'd give a reaction, freak out, and ask questions or, like, anything. And this is so counterintuitive to anything that ever happened before that it feels like a conscious decision to subvert our expectations. Like, look, this is the first time somebody's just ignoring it and not making a big deal out of the...
It's kind of funny because I remember we said all the time that in Ruridragon, people are way too casual about the fact that she's a dragon.
Goes beyond.
This goes even further than that, where this guy's never seen anything like this. He hasn't been prepared for it. He's just like, yeah, whatever. So it does feel like it's missing a lot of introduction to all of the yokai stuff that's appearing all of a sudden. But yeah, we get a flash forward to after school. So here's him with his older sister, who is
she's so sexy. Look at
stepsister.
Look at this fit, bare midriff gal with a half.
I was surprised at her appearance when he's like, "Oh, I'm working so hard to keep the house." And then it's like, wait, maybe if his older sister didn't spend as much money buying clothes to look cool, she could help out with that.
Indeed.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I saw this exact outfit on a
VTuber.
On a not a VTuber. I was gonna say on a fan art of Power doing a sexy Power. I think I saw this exact outfit. And they're chatting, and he's just like, "Yeah, I had a crazy dream that a demon girl with horns showed up at the house." And she's like, "Yeah, whatever."
At what point, when you leave the house with Manaka still inside the house, do you decide that
it's just
now I'm awake, it was a dream? At what point do you become even if it's a dream, at what point do you make the conscious decision that dream over now?
Yeah, good point. It's sort of like the gag from One Piece where Zoro erases the old lady from his memory.
Yeah.
Except that it doesn't highlight that here. It's just like, yeah, he thought it was a dream, but doesn't directly make fun of him for doing so. It seems like the author here is trying to tell us that it would be normal to just assume something that weird is a dream after you walk out of your house.
No,
I can kind of see it. I can kind of see it if not only in the first page where he was working, if it had also said that he had been staying up all night.
Yeah,
they do
I guess
mention that
he
does multiple jobs. So I'm like, if they had pointed out like, oh, he's just been doing this job, right? And moving stuff is something that he has been doing all night before getting ready for school. So
that would be good. That would be a fix.
That would have fixed it. So yeah, kind of missed opportunity there. I'm just going to assume that's what happened now. If there's no magic, it's because he was working all night. But yeah, he goes home with his
extremely sexy
older stepsister.
And Manaka surprises them, is like, who's this woman? And he's like, no,
instant jealousy.
Instant jealousy. He has to explain that that's his sister, and she's like, if it's your sister, like, then it's fine. Okay. But then they immediately right afterwards talk about what happened 10 years ago, and he was just like, oh yeah, that was when you weren't part of the family yet, implying like, oh, that was when you weren't. That was when we and still are not related, and you are kind of like the sexy adult woman getting really close to me in my house. That should immediately make Manaka attack her.
Yeah, or at least go through the house and like destroy any washing machine that they have to prevent her from getting stuck in it. They also don't really say, I don't think anyway, they don't say anything about what happened to their parents. Right?
Indeed, that's another thing that I really want to explain in the first chapter, when they introduce a really weird family situation of 3 children, one of them is an adult, the son in high school works his ass off, and they still have like a small baby child with them.
Yes.
No parents,
no explanation.
Big house. No explanation. I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely important.
Yeah, it feels like there's a couple things missing from this chapter. Hopefully they'll be filled in next week, so we'll get to know more.
Yes.
Because otherwise it would seem like it's setting up for what happened to the parents to be a big mystery that's going to be gone into later. But it feels, it feels like, I don't know why else he would leave it out of the first chapter. There's not even at least in my memory, there's not even like a little throwaway line about it.
While they talk with Manaka about like the current situation, she explains that he has sacred blood, which is like extra delicious for sparkling vampires. And I guess since he's the only pure-blooded of these siblings, because one of them is his stepsister, and the other one is just a half-sister.
So they probably don't have.
Probably means that only he's the one who gets attracted, and not both of them.
Maybe the little sister. I wouldn't be surprised if later on they're like, oh, the little sister is also going to be attacked by demons. So
she gets half attacked, maybe. Yeah. But I guess demons. if he has the sacred blood, that means one of his parents also has the sacred blood, and if he gets attacked, that means the parents probably also got attacked at some point back in their day. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're both exorcists, because they do have that talisman hanging on the doorway. And also, now that I look at this page, the sister having this kind of skull on her cell phone kind of makes me feel like maybe
the little badge that they got in Bleach.
Unfortunately, not the same, but that kind of makes me feel like she might have also like a side job dealing with occult stuff, or maybe exorcism.
You think that if that's true, she would react more to Manaka.
Right. That's
when
what
she
you
sees her reaction is, oh, she's so cute, instead of, oh, she's a demon.
She even asks if the horns are made of clay.
Yeah. Which is another thing similar to Ruridragon. Is, oh, are those horns real? I just assume that they're an accessory.
Yeah.
And I do like when she asks Manaka, like, why devote yourself to, or I think Jinta himself asks her, like, why devote yourself to me if you think I'm a jerk who's just forgotten you.
That was a nice line where she says, it doesn't matter to me if you forgot because I remember.
Yeah.
And then she immediately gets attacked. One more thing. They do have this talk at home, and then they decide to go eat because like, let's have a scene transition. We can't fight inside the house. We have to have a scene where we are outside.
Did that too recently. Have to fight outside.
What I find really weird is that we don't see them eat. We only see them return from eating. And the conversation...
This first chapter skipped after the entire school day, and it skipped after their dinner, too.
Yes, and the dinner where even Manaka is now, like, kind of part of the family. And they talk about, like...
She's like a third sister all of a sudden.
Yeah, they definitely continue talking about stuff. And the scene is treated as if, like, as if King Crimson erased all of the time that happened between, and the conversation from the when they were still in the house is now continuing as if nothing in between had happened.
Once again, just missing information that could have been there and might probably still be there in a flashback.
No, because they don't even treat it as if they had made any progress on, like, who are you, where you're from, what's your deal. It's just skip, and nobody talked in the meantime, which sucks. I don't want this. I want more of the in between, less of the let's get to the good part.
Yeah, a bit too much like a montage rather than a proper episode.
The good part is admittedly, like, it's not shit. Because they get attacked by Froppy.
Yeah.
And I would say Froppy is the sexiest part of chapter.
The weird thing, though, is that she's got a tail, but they call her a frog. So isn't she more like a salamander?
Sure.
Yeah, she's not. So that's the differentiation between her and a true Froppy.
I think she's supposed to be a kappa, but they call her something else. Kawampa?
I never heard of that before. Kawampa.
Same. So either that's made up or it's something I don't know.
And
about.
I just noticed she's also got a little skull logo on her hoodie. Yeah, so there's kind of a motif.
Suspicious.
Here. Yeah, wonder why.
I was too distracted by her shapely legs and and the space in between.
Yeah, that swimsuit and hoodie look. She's got weird feet though, so sorry all you foot freaks. Unless you're very specifically frog foot freaks, then enjoy.
We've seen normal feet. It's time to enjoy different feet.
Yeah, and then how do you like Monika's battle power? Because I was like, I don't like this.
It's not very intuitive. You can't really, like, imagine how she would use it. It feels kind of like she can do anything.
Yeah, she announces that she's got some sorcery, and she can't reveal her full power because it's too strong for her to control. But she does this weird attack where she like slashes Froppy with some sort of magic slash with her sword, and then it transforms her into a fish, and it's really like horrific because it's a fish with legs, and Monika's like, it's okay, Now that it's a fish, it won't remember anything. The fish is like, kill me. That's bad.
Is that always an alien resurrection reference, or is it just like such a?
It's. I think it's so common now. That's just a general body horror statement. Because that was also in Full Metal Alchemist too.
Right.
Yeah. The
Either way, it's
the chimera that talk but only say "kill me."
The body horror is treated as comedy because
it's a joke. Jinta agrees with me. He's like, no. But Monika's like, it's fine.
We can eat it.
Yeah, but gross.
Jinta tells her to undo it, and the Froppy just apologizes and leaves. And considering that she's on the color spread
she's going to be a recurring character, of course. With a design like that, are you going to waste a design like that for a one-time enemy? No, you're going to bring her back, of course.
Unless you had way better designs up your sleeve and you just want to tease us with whatever is like, as if it's kind of like when you want to show all of the cool hot babes and you have to make one that's easily disposable. You make one that's kind of weird, but then you run the risk of making it so weird that everybody's like, no, this is the good one, this is the best.
That's right.
And then everybody's
you get into that space where you've made her so weird that she's super easily identifiable, and people start projecting fetishes onto the new thing.
I do like her. She's nice.
Yeah, she'll be a fun recurring
mini boss,
little antagonist for them. Probably gonna add her to the harem too, along with his childhood friend and stepsister.
Sure. Why not?
At the end, Monika declares that she's going to live with them and protect Jinta because everything will be coming after him due to his delicious blood. And another thing that I was like, oh, Jinta should have thought about with this whole setup is that Monika claims, oh, all these other yokai are going to show up to attack you because you've got the delicious blood, right?
Yes.
But it's never happened to him before. It's like a new thing. So wouldn't he think like, wait a second, they're coming here because you're here, so get out. You think that could be a possible conflict between them, but he doesn't. He doesn't have that.
Technically, he just needs another talisman, right?
Yeah, you'd think. Just get another talisman in the house. House will be protected. Yeah.
And instead, he makes a contract with her.
Yeah, instantly. Overall, how did you like it, though?
60. It was fine.
I said it's a fine setup, but I won't get too hyped for it yet. At least it does have really cute drawings.
Yes, the quality of the art is
more competent than Doran because I think we always said sometimes that Doran then at least has the lines are like they're competently drawn, but then we didn't like the designs.
Yes.
This has competent line work and it has good designs. And I can see this turning into a fun slice of life type thing with supernatural creatures, much like Witch Watch.
Right. I have one complaint though.
Tell me.
Manaka's design is very basic, traditional Japanese
with the
girl, and it's not
with the
as
sword
exciting.
And the kimono.
Even in this bath scene at the very end, she's barely erotic, and you're supposed to in a harem. You're supposed to be like, oh, I want this girl, and I want this girl, and I want this girl. But right now, my ranking goes Froppy, older sister, maybe Manaka.
Yeah. Oh, if I were the editor for him, you know what I would tell him to do for this? I say him. I'm not sure if the author is a man or a woman.
It is a man.
Okay. Well, how I would tell him to change this scene where she forms a contract with Jinta,
where she
bursts out of the shower, pledging to protect
tries
him.
to burst out, stumbles over the curtain, falls on him naked, and only like a thin sheet of shower curtain is between them and her boobs.
Not even that. Just have nothing between them, and it's just that the reason that we, the audience, don't see everything is because her attendants, the weird ghost thing, since some of them are here already, just have them in the way, just like the confetti from Blue Box.
Ah.
Yeah. And then his sisters can be like, Jinta,
starting
did
weird
you touch
rumors.
her? Yeah, like weird books at him. Yeah, it's got a lot of potential. I like this.
It's got potential. I'm a little bit dissatisfied. I think it's skipping way too much.
Yeah, the school stuff and the dinner. It really should have had scenes for those places. And it's just weird that it skipped over them, but I'm going to assume it'll be explained later.
I'm interested in all of the, like, I have to say magic system. Like, I want to know...
With the talismans and her powers that we don't know.
Yes, that's very important, because if that stuff doesn't work, then it constantly makes you question, like, wait a minute, this time she was shown to do this, and now she can't do it anymore. What's up with that?
Yeah.
I am interested in his job situation and why they need to keep this house in particular. I really need to know what the family situation is.
Yeah. These are all mysteries that are set up to be solved in future chapters.
Oh, and again, needs to be more sexy.
As always. If you're going to do romance, you need to do more sexy drawings for the teenage boys who read this.
Well,
when I say teenage boys, I mean Maxi.
It's normally you always have like one wholesome. Well, that's not even true. Normally, you have one like panty quota reaching manga in the magazine.
All right, yeah.
Kind of like what was Toraburu? That was the one. They definitely had a quota to like how many panties have to be shown per chapter. And if it's not a penny, then it can be. Did you know in one chapter they have a reflection in one thing of like the whole gooch, and the editor didn't notice.
Being the Shonen Jump editor in charge of the panty shot quota.
Imagine.
Anyway,
yeah,
more fan service. Solve some of the mysteries here. At least mention them more than ignoring them like this chapter did. And I'm gonna keep high hopes for this. What's going on? Yeah. We got another series that's about
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Magic. Jujutsu Kaisen. This week is chapter 196, Sakurajima Colony, part 6. So that means we've been on 6 weeks already of Maki and Noritoshi fighting Noya.
Yes.
Yeah, and this week
was very weak.
Yeah, kind of not into it. I think last time we said that we really liked the Katana Man a lot more than the sumo kappa. Yeah, the sumo kappa. Well, then this week is like, oops, all sumo kappa.
Yes, so that means our assessment was not incorrect. The sumo kappa is kind of bad.
We were right, just on first appearances, that the sumo kappa is indeed more boring than the katana old man.
Because this is the chapter in which Maki steps into the ring, where she accepts the sumo-obsessed kappa's challenge and learns something about herself. But the things that she learns are incomprehensible.
Yeah, it's kind of BS, to be honest.
It doesn't really make any sense. I wrote down that the sumo explanation is basically just saying you have to train more because you have to take whatever you've experienced up until the moment when you step into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take all of that into the ring.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you face your opponent with everything that he's taken from his experiences into the ring. And somehow that equals freedom.
Right.
It really doesn't make any sense. And the weirdest part about this is that go to the next page where we see Maki.
All the throws.
Yeah, she's conversing with the sumo kappa in what appears, at least here, to be 16 different bouts.
Yeah.
Maybe a few less, but
Still.
Sumo is relatively fast if you think about it. Like, if you've ever seen a sumo match.
Every round of sumo, they say, takes less than 1 minute.
Yes.
Yeah. But even then, 16 times. And meanwhile, Noya and the katana old man and Noritoshi are just kind of chilling outside of the sumo domain. It's
Last week, Naoya got slashed by the katana guy.
But we just see him this time. There's a cutaway to him, and there's like no visible damage on him. So basically,
we have to assume that Naoya just floated a little bit into the air above where everybody can reach him. And sitting it out while healing and watching some sumo.
Yeah.
And everybody else is
pleasant for him. He just can't
do anything
to watch
right
these
now.
Matches.
Yeah. So Maki's just
getting thrown all over the place, so he probably enjoys that. He's like, kick her out.
She just gets the 16-minute training arc in the middle of
surprise training arc.
Somehow, like, this battle is where she and what's his name? Noritoshi.
Yeah.
Were fighting somebody who has like extremely strong significance to their family circumstances.
Yeah.
And they just put that on hold for sumo shenanigans.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre.
It's strange. I didn't really like it. And then here we get the actual explanation that makes her level up. Where it's like, you got
the thing that leveled up is Gege Akutami's assistant's skill level of
drawing
backgrounds, because they were forced to spend like the whole week on just drawing this one big panel.
Yeah. So it's weird. So we get this explanation that's kind of BS, and then Maki leaves the sumo domain and is like, I'm at my best. It's like, are you really after getting thrown around like that so much? Because I mean, those sumo throws, some of them look like they hurt.
At the very least, she's at the best of her popularity because people saw this smile and were like, we gotta protect this. I'm not a big fan of her design right now, so that's why I'm like...
We often criticize the designs of this series, and I feel like Maki is, they tried to make her look more unique with the scars, but I don't really like her hair change, and the removal of her glasses was always a bad idea.
That's the biggest sin of them all.
Yeah, the greatest sin.
The glasses stay on, dude.
Exactly. You should have learned. You should get Kamiya to come teach Gege something or other.
Anyways, I gave this chapter 55 points. It's
sounds about right.
Barely okay. 5 points above being not good.
The note I wrote for this chapter was just one word. Meh.
Yeah, that sums it up quite all right.
Yeah.
Want to go to the next chapter?
Yeah, Akane-banashi.
Manga.
Akane-banashi, chapter 28. I'm glad. Who's glad?
She's glad.
Yeah, she finally gets the fullness, the background on the answers that Isho is giving her.
Yes. This is the chapter in which Akane accepts Isho Arakawa's conviction to preserve the high standard of Rakugo, and she declares that she will prove him wrong. Yeah.
Basically, Isho last week was like, I killed your dad because he wasn't good enough. Search your heart. you know it to be true. And she's like, oh shit, it is. And this time he's talking about why it is that he has such high standards. It's basically because he just loves Rakugo so much, and he thinks that in the modern day, with all the different forms of entertainment out there, it's not like in the old day when Rakugo is like the pop culture thing. Now there's all these other things. Everyone's like on Twitch watching e-girls instead of Rakugo. So he's like, I need to make it as amazing as possible. And if anyone ever sees a Shin-uchi performing kind of mediocre, it'll ruin Rakugo for them forever, because they'll be like, oh, this is the highest level of Rakugo? I don't care.
Yeah, I kind of didn't 100% take his explanation to be that he's only holding the Shin-uchi to that level, because if that were the case, then he wouldn't have a reason to expel the whole generation of Akane's dad. And also I really get the explanation of, I need to preserve this art form because this is everything I've spent my whole life. I've perfected the craft. I've mastered it. I want it to flourish. Makes perfect sense. But
that's great.
If you wanted to have, if you wanted to support your own art form,
you should. More people learning it is good.
So that's the one thing that's missing.
Kill the younglings.
He doesn't want people who aren't up to his high standards to become Shin-uchi. That's perfectly fine. But why not keep all of why not keep the guys around and make them become better? Because the logic behind is this: if you can't take the test to become a Shin-uchi without failing, rather, if you aren't on the level already to become a Shin-uchi, that kind of basically means you don't deserve to be a student in the first place. So basically, Isho would be forced to expel every student just by the nature of being a student. That's how I kind of get it, because there's no reason to expel all the students. Like, all of these are the best people so far who are.
They care about it a lot. They really want to get better. On the cusp
of getting to Shin-uchi level. And instead of leveraging them to become Shin-uchi, he's just, all of you are not good enough. We'll take the next batch.
Yeah. He could have been like, oh, I'll focus you, train harder for next year. Actually, you know what, in that case, would have maybe made more sense for this story and this motivation? Maybe there's some as of yet hidden motivation for him that we haven't seen yet. But I feel like with what we know now, it might actually have worked better if in the first chapter, instead of expelling everyone, he very focusedly just went straight at Akane's dad and was like, you get out.
Yes.
Because then it would have been the sort of thing where he's like, yeah, I did that because I sensed that he was weak, and that kicking him out would keep everyone else on their toes, and it would force them to do better, right?
That's one.
So without that, it seems like there's probably still some more mystery going on.
I think the main mystery that's still going on is the conflict between Shiguma's style and his own style.
Yeah.
But I have one more idea that didn't happen, so I think it's not what they were going for, but it would have been a possibility, and that is, imagine if, like, Akane's dad was trying to become a Shin-uchi several times. Yeah. So that kind of proves that he doesn't have what it takes. Like, by nature, if he managed to do it on his second try, that would have been like, yeah, okay, he's still good. But like, if you fail multiple times at your driving school final exam, like that kind of means you're kind of a threat to the
right. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Yes. So I think there's an unexplored gambit that Issho Arakawa might have looked at all of these students, figured out none of these guys have what it takes, and this is the last straw for them to, like, they can't go on. So I will expel everybody in such a manner that it elicits enough attention to the Rakugo world that a new batch of potential people would look at it and be like, wow, this is such a breakneck dog-eat-dog world that kind of makes me interested in wanting to do it. So only those who are like up to the extremely high challenge would take it. But if that were the case...
But if you think about it, then it's been 6 years. You'd think that there would be a greater number of people being really cutthroat. Where, as we've seen, then at least with the people under Shiguma, then they're pretty nice, really, except I mean, they made her do the chores, but they're not really that cutthroat. And you'd think that there would be more of that if that was what Issho was pushing for to make the school
and
tougher.
Plus, if that were the case, like if my kind of like headcanon were correct, then it wouldn't have been a mystery in the first place, because then he would have constantly held... He would have said it. He would have constantly had interviews where he'd say, all of these guys were shit. I'm only looking for the best. And if, like, he would be like, the One Piece is out there. If you got what it takes, come and get it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right, yeah. So,
and I think that would have actually been better. I think that would have been better. There's another hitch in this whole thing. Let me check for a second if there's anything in these. Oh, by the way, here in this page that we're looking at this whole time, I really like that this, like it all of the media out there right now. It's so hard to get into anything and become successful because getting so anybody's attention. Yes, you don't just compete against other Rakugo or against other movies or against other musicians or against other VTubers. It's everything. So you really have to put in the effort. At the same time, he's kind of wrong in that sense because he's so focused on Rakugo as the single only thing that he doesn't see the potential of new forms springing up, like new genres and new things
or
popping
combining things like a Rakugo anime,
for instance. But new things popping up that don't require as high of a skill set as like the top Rakugo performer. Sometimes all it takes is like being, let's say, a shitty puppeteer who has like one genius idea, and that turns everything into like that creates a new art form.
Yeah, we'll start with one of those variety shows on Japanese
At one
TV.
point, Rakugo was that upstart genre, right?
Yeah,
and it's not as old as like kabuki and
it's not.
Theater. So it's kind of like he's clinging to a dying art form, and maybe it deserves to die.
Speaking of that, though, I did like the page where he was talking about Rakugo has been passed down for generations.
Yes, because you can totally tell.
Yeah, it's just like the old guy teaching the young guy, and then skip forward in time to the young guys, now the older guy teaching a new young guy. And I'm like, kind of wish that the last panel had shown him as a young guy.
That would have been funny.
Like that's his direct lineage. But
I think the best part about this is that you can clearly tell just from the backgrounds and from the
you can tell when it
fashion what time this is, because like especially the
hats and the buildings.
The Taisho guys, that's it hurts how Taisho that is.
It's very specific.
And I'm not actually a fan of it, but like gotta give props to like picking the encapsulation, the extremely high concentration of this is Taisho.
That's right. Let's see what else do we get here in this chapter.
I wanted to highlight
once again the super evil look for Issho. He's a demon living for the sake of his art.
All right. Incidentally, this has nothing to do with Akane-banashi, really, but like I realized that in some cases, I'm kind of like Issho Arakawa myself when I talk about manga.
For your art. Oh,
because I care so much about it, and
if you actually worked for Shueisha, you would be the guy being like, "No, kick these guys out. They're not good enough."
Yeah. Sometimes you have to like kill the Doron author and make way for somebody new.
Yeah, well, that's how we're getting Tokyo Demon Bride now, so.
Indeed. Yeah, the next thing is that Akane is declaring her that she wants to prove him wrong, even though she kinda...
I'm gonna use my dad's secret abilities to defeat you.
Normally...
This is a battle manga now.
Since she's basically having an argument with Issho Arakawa about like who's right and who's wrong, it's kind of vague what her position is. Like if her position is just my dad deserves to be a Shin-uchi, I think that's
she can't really prove that.
She can't
she can
prove
just say
it.
I learned from him, but then it wouldn't be the same because he could still say like, yes, you were right. You learned from him and you're really good now. But when he took the test, he sucked.
So here's the thing. The go to the next page. I think it all comes down to the difference between the two styles, the Issho Arakawa style and the Shiguma Arakawa style. And that's the new mystery that's kind of like keeping the series up for me.
What's the difference? And I think last week I was like, oh, it could comfortably end soon now that she knows. And now I'm like, no, wait, it's setting up for the next battle with doing this and having Issho kind of get his apprentice Kaisen he's set up as like the next rival to directly battle Akane.
Right, even though there's more happening, like the voice actress also gets scouted by one of the other emperors.
Yeah, and they name another one of the emperors. I thought it was going to be a full
one of the
roll
emperors,
call,
or was that like one of the?
Well, maybe it's not one of the Arakawa guys, but it's one of the other high-end
extremely
people. Yeah. And his name sounds like a FromSoft boss.
What was it again?
Hajai Kensho, the Guardian of Truth.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a battle manga now.
Definitely want to battle this guy now.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the truth? Maybe he holds the truth about
up with that?
What Issho Arakawa's style is. Will we ever find out?
Gonna drop?
Oh, by the way. So on the topic of Issho Arakawa finding fault with Shiguma's style, right? How does that give him the authority to expel Shiguma's pupils? Why, if they are such distinct styles, why does he have authority over Shiguma's style? And even though they are both of the same school, right? Why can't the differences be this vast that they don't just form their own new schools? Like, why? Right. What's keeping Shiguma from being like?
Why are they both still Orekara? Why don't they split up? That's
such a weird setup. Why isn't it two competing dojos against each other?
Yeah,
that's what I want to know. So that's all of these kind of weird vagaries and ambiguous information that really doesn't make sense if you don't get the full picture. And I kind of have
still don't like the full picture.
I fear that the full picture is, I wasn't able to think about that. I just thought I'd create a mystery and everybody would eat it up. And, some people just eat it
mystery
up because
box.
they're like, Akane is extremely popular with the people who comment on Weekly Shonen Jump. Might not be a 100% realistic reflection of the actual popularity
overall.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyways, I gave this chapter 61 points.
Okay, it's just okay, not that great. I like it.
It's fine.
I thought that this was a good end to the first arc, I suppose, and setting up for the next, I guess, sequence where she's going to have to battle her way through all of the other Orekara people.
Yeah, I just wish we had gotten a little bit more answers, because that would just make everything so much more clearer.
Yeah, well, can't always get what you. Not,
Fine.
I think maybe this issue, maybe often in this magazine, because of its weekly nature, we just aren't going to get as many answers per week as we would like, just due to the chapter lengths.
I think there's been mangas where I get everything I wanted and more, and at the same time still get the hook for the next mystery.
Yeah,
I think anything by the
true
Death
skill.
Note and Bakuman duo is capable of pulling that off.
Yeah, that reminds me, I need to catch up with Shohei Shoten. I think there's a new chapter I haven't read.
It's really good.
Okay, I'll have to check it out. Anyway, next we got...
Yes, next.
Roboco!
Roboco!
103, Snacks and the Field Trip. So, yeah, we were just talking about how Akane-banashi is setting up for becoming a battle manga. And Roboco is already also becoming a battle manga.
It's just that this time, mangas, you're in one.
That's right. This time the battle is about picking snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pretty funny.
The boys, somehow only the boys were
visible
in this chapter. No girls around. No girls
around.
We
don't even see them. It's not even like the girls are like, oh, that's a silly competition. We're not going to participate. We don't see them. So they're all getting snacks. Here's the rules for this tournament.
I love reading rules to weird games.
Yeah. It's such a classic for the genre, the shonen manga genre.
You know why I love this?
Battle needs rules to understand. Why do you love it?
Because these
Did you live this?
No, because these kind of rule setups usually leave the possibility of like bending the rules and cheating without cheating, and
which is what happens at the end of this one.
Yes, so
that's great.
That's what I liked. Finding the loopholes to get around the rules and still winning, even though you did something that should be bullshit. That's what I like. That's fun of these. For instance, that's the greatest bit about Kaiji. Kaiji always does this kind of stuff.
If you cheated to win, does it really count as cheating if they didn't catch you? Yeah, so...
Anyway,
going through them. Who was the first we saw pulling their snacks out?
Shun. No, wait. Shun? Is it Shun? Izuru, sorry. I got the names mixed up. Izuru, who only read their minds when they were like, oh, it's just a casual little competition between us. And then he's like, no, that's not true. I read their minds and they're all dead serious about this. He pulls out an accidental, good combo. It's really hard to determine in this chapter who wins and who loses with the snacks that they brought, because
they all win.
Despite
they all had yummy stuff.
Despite the chapter making a huge deal out of like them being fired up about it and having rules and like trying to determine who brought the best snacks, there's one very glaring not a mistake. Something's glaring in this chapter, and do you know what it is?
What is it? There's no winner?
Yes, there is no winner because all of these snacks that they present are brands that exist in the real world.
Oh, they couldn't do a winner because then the brands wouldn't sponsor them.
Yes. So this chapter is kind of like the Roboco has unlocked the
product
potential.
Placement, the chapter.
Yes, to be product placement, the manga. There's been recently so many chapters where they just drool over any kind of product. And then say like, oh, by the way, it's on sale. It only costs this much, and it's a limited edition, so maybe get it, huh? And this time they do it with snacks.
Somehow, though, I think there's a lot of stuff where they'll do product placement, and I'll be like, this is really cringe that they're doing product placement. But Roboco does it, I'm like, I love this. Do you have that feeling as well, or do you not like the amount of product placement they're doing in this?
I feel like it's gotten the concentration is so high.
Too much.
All of a sudden,
too much. Okay.
Like we've had 90 chapters of no product placement, and suddenly we get all of the product placement in the past like 10 chapters, and it feels like somehow
a switch was flipped.
Yeah,
and now it's
switch was flipped.
Product placement time.
It's kind of weird. Some people commented that this is what Dagashi Kashi was.
That's what I was thinking of when I saw snacks. I was like, oh, is it going to be like Dagashi Kashi?
I've never read it. I've never watched it. I don't know how much product placement is in there. But if that's what
the thing about it, about it, though, is Dagashi Kashi. Then it's all about these like
shitty snacks.
Yeah, the more traditional Japanese cheap snacks that you can get for like a single coin, and a lot of them, they look like this sort of thing that's so cheap that the company that makes them probably wouldn't be able to fund the manga. It seems more like it's just the authors like, oh yeah, I remember those snacks, I'm gonna put them in.
I hadn't even thought about that.
I don't know, it's just that they're such cheap snacks that they keep bringing up in that.
They are so extremely cheap. Even in this chapter, where in this Roboco chapter, where they force each other to abide by the 300 yen rule. Imagine how much 300 yen is, and how much you would get here for 300 yen.
Not much.
Can you get a whole parfait for 300 yen? No, you can't.
No.
Even if you made it yourself, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they go through several variations of what the kids bring, and it's constantly baffling me how much they can buy with this little money. I don't get it.
This must be very generous convenience stores in Japan.
Well, the thing is, Japan is a notoriously low price country for a lot of things.
Really?
And
I always heard people saying it's high price for things.
Well, it depends what kind of things. But a lot of foodstuffs is arbitrarily made cheap, because a lot of people would complain if it was slightly like there's products where the company makes a public announcement and the president comes out and does the deepest bow he can do because they increased the price of something like the gari gari kun, those really shitty ice cream. Yeah, the shitty ice cream with the extremely bad logo with a big mouth dude that I really hate. They did that because they increased the price by like 17 yen, which is nothing.
Yeah.
That's nothing. And people still complain about it.
Wow.
It's insane. And
prices.
Yeah, just make it. I mean, inflation is real. Just change it. And this has some serious repercussions, because it means that the companies constantly struggle to make a living. They constantly have to underpay their employees.
Oh no.
And they constantly have to stretch the material to, like, they have to use extremely cancerous materials that are already outlawed by EU laws.
Wow, that's not good.
Yeah, that's not good. And kind of like, I look at these prices and go like, how is it possible that they can get away with like this many candies and snacks for 300 yen?
Yeah.
300 yen is as much as like Jump costs.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a whole volume of Jump with, well, almost like 90% of one whole volume of Jump for 300 yen.
Yeah, so it does seem kind of weird that they're being able to get so much. Because, Gorilla gets a 9-pack, right?
Yeah.
Of Choco Pies. That seems like a lot of them for 300.
Yeah.
And he's trading them so that he can get a wider variety of snacks. So it's actually a pretty good move for him.
Yeah, it's a good move.
The one that you were mentioning is Motsuo's Parfait. And I'm like, wait, they didn't. It's got so many layers, and it's like, wait, they say he had to bring a cooler for it. Does the cooler not count towards the 300 yen?
Right. That's the weird part.
Cheater.
Also, he's exploiting the rule that banana doesn't count as... Like, fruit doesn't count as a snack, so that's why you can bring as much fruit as you want. And that's why he can fill the parfait with bananas. And, like, make it bigger than it should be.
Yeah.
Still a whole parfait for 300 yen? Yeah. I think that shouldn't count.
You just did it so good.
And then
Bondo.
Bondo's candies? Branded Jump items for 300 yen? How's that possible? How is he able to get a limited edition power item? Literally power from Chainsaw Man for 80 yen. How's that possible? What are these prices?
Who knows?
I don't get it. And
maybe
then eventually,
in actuality they're like really tiny. You know,
could be
compared
like
to the
Bondo.
Characters. Yeah.
Maybe Bondo is just really small and that's why it looks big.
Yeah. I looked at this page and I was like, oh, I want a power mini print. So I went online and I did a search for Chainsaw Man Countrymans. And there's someone selling them on eBay to import them.
300 yen?
It's like $63 per. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna pay $63 for a power.
See, that's why Bondo was so gung ho about getting these items because he knows he can shill those to overseas
overseas
maniacs
fans who don't have Lawson.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then all the NPCs in their class participate too.
Wait, what if Bondo uses the money from selling all of his Chainsaw Man items for charity?
Oh, what a good guy. Just like Gorilla.
Yeah, all of the other kids show their stupid snacks. And
one kid goes over. He spent too much money. He wasn't paying attention.
And then the teacher has to confiscate it, but
yeah, he confiscates it. And at this part made me laugh so much because it's a wholesome ending where the teacher is like, "Oh, I broke the rules for you, so your snack actually counts. So it won't be confiscated. You can have it back." But it's like the way it did it is, I accidentally ate half of your poke, so now your snacks cost less because I'm only counting half the price of a box of poke. And it's like, oh, he's such a good guy. He's helping out a student. But also, he just stole a student's poke.
He never gets addressed. He's getting away. He can't keep getting away with it. In a way, you could read the reaction of the boys in the bottom panel as them being extremely angry at him trying to play it off cool that he actually stole the pocky.
Yeah. You could read it as that. I read it as they were crying joy, like, oh, he's such a good guy.
Yes, of course, but
helped him out.
I think this would make it better.
So how did you rate this chapter? I thought it was all right.
It was all right. It was a little, in my opinion, a little bit better than Akane-banashi. Probably going to get hate for that, but
you liked an ad better than that climactic conversation.
It was disappointing, so that's why I'm being mean to Akane. So 63 points, it was fine.
Yeah, just fine. Yeah, I wish snacks over here would also come with a print of power in them.
You open it and you only get Pochita.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yes. Next.
Going on. We got Sakamoto Days. Sakamoto returned to fat.
Doing his best Weird Al Yankovic impression.
How's that song go?
The song is
Michael
fat,
Jackson.
but it's on Michael Jackson's bad.
Yeah. You know
the best part about that song is I got more chins than Chinatown. I love that line. It's so good.
Yeah, so he's fat. And
yes, but he can suck it in.
He can suck it in, but it's not just us noticing it, because also
Amane
noticed, and it reveals that he has, what is it, like a photographic memory?
That's Sakamoto's suspicion. It's not 100% confirmed, but we can just assume that. Yeah, that's what it is.
Even before this, then Amane is like, I know you're not a normal teacher because I can tell that your body has been changing and you have different measurements whenever I see you. So it must be a disguise.
Off. That I like that when somebody is noticing on these minute details. I always love that.
And it further makes me think about how this is magic. He says, "Oh, your wrists are a different circumference." It's like, okay, well, a disguise wouldn't be able to do that. So it's magic. This is magic. And earlier we thought that the janitor might be important because we saw, what's his name, Natsuki.
Yeah,
was going to talk to the janitor, but then got distracted because he was called by his brother instead.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, but the janitor will probably be important. And after another brief chase scene that kind of had a weird conclusion, Sakamoto chases Amane again. And Amane jumps down the stairs after stealing the keys.
And this is such a cool shot. This is one of the best things in this issue of Shonen Jump. I love it. This is so cool.
It's such a weird move that he does, though. He uses his spear thing to cut the railing.
Yeah.
And then
not just the railing. He's cutting several of the stairs.
And then pulling them down, so they form like a cage above him, so Sakamoto can't follow.
Oh, really? Is that what it is?
That's what it looks like, yeah, to me anyway, because Sakamoto landed on the railing in the middle of it. And it looked like he's like, damn, it's blocked off. I have to go a different way.
The way I saw it, he's cutting off several stairs, not just the railings, but the railings fall in a way that Sakamoto is, while he's pursuing Amane, he uses them in midair as a platform. And once he hopped off of the railings that were already falling, he lost sight of Amane. I didn't think it was supposed to be like blocking his path. I thought it was just Sakamoto using the platforms.
Okay, it looked to me kind of like it was blocking the path, but I guess
it's jump and run rules.
Yeah, it's a bit unclear when Sakamoto gets there, but it is very clear that Amane's escape after grabbing the keys and running down the hall is just to jump down this huge stairwell. Yeah, and he's just confident enough that he can use his spear to regain balance and survive the fall. And indeed, Sakamoto loses him.
Yeah.
But he does discover, he goes and talks to the janitor and discovers that the janitor recognizes him, for one.
And even the janitor sees through the disguise because he recognizes all of the moves.
Yeah. But also the janitor is Amane's grandfather.
Yeah, that's also a reveal.
So quite a coincidental connection here all of a sudden.
You think that, but I have a prediction.
Yeah, tell me your prediction.
So, after
you think this is going to be like the old guy at Doron Dororon?
I know it's going to be like
a boss.
This is how it's going to go down. So, Amane stole the keys. He was unable to find the database of all of the former students. So he gets called by Slur, and Slur tells him, okay, if you can't find it, then how about this? You disable the missile defense system, so we can just...
we're going to fly in and kill everyone, basically.
Yes. That would solve the problem of the JCC existing as well. This is how it's going to go down. Amane is going to try to destroy the missiles. Sakamoto is going to face him. He's confronting him, and while they talk about it, Kanaguri somehow shows up. And no, wait, sorry. First, the janitor shows up. He's going like, Amane, don't do it. I'm your grandfather, and this is not the way. Also, by the way, no, wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. Then, he somehow disables somehow the missiles do get disabled. Kanaguri immediately shows up, kills the grandfather, and while he's dying, he reveals that he is the database because he knows.
He memorized all of it.
He memorizes everything.
Yeah.
And
that's such a good prediction.
And that's how Amane then goes like, "Oh no, I made a mistake. Grandpa,
I killed the database. I destroyed the database, but it was my own family."
And that's how Amane then...
Tragic. Then he joins Sakamoto's side.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, "No, that's how you made me do such a bad thing."
It might also be possible that Amane maybe kills the grandfather accidentally, but I think Kanaguri is going to be the one who does it, because otherwise it would be a little bit too harsh on Amane. If he's supposed to be one of the good guys later on, then he can't be the one who accidentally does it.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility. I won't rule it out completely, because this is still a somewhat hazy prediction. But this is how it's going to go down.
Tweet it out, put it in writing, so if it comes to be, you can show the timestamp and brag.
Good idea.
How clever you are. That right. Yeah. So here's the final page where, back at the Slur base, Kanaguri is like, "Oh, we're going to go kill everyone." It's like, "Oh, I can film a movie there because it's a school." So I'm like, "Oh, he's probably going to come into direct confrontation with Shin, who is talking about how much he's enjoying living the school life, just like in his manga."
Yeah.
So instead of being the katana versus sumo fight, it'll be the manga versus movies fight.
It's possible, but also we've seen that Kanaguri has weird time-based powers that shouldn't exist in this world.
Is he one? So maybe he's one of the escaped Zenin clan members from Jujutsu Kaisen. With film powers.
If Shin faces off against Kanaguri, he will he will hit the limits of what he can do, because his special power is that he can activate his mind reading so well that it's kind of like seeing the future.
Yeah.
But if the dude can just erase the future and revert back, then it doesn't matter. So that's
here's another question for predicting the future of this: do you think Shin and friends are actually going to be able to hit the teacher that they're challenging and get information from her before the attack happens, or do you think that whole thing is going to get interrupted by the next battle?
Would be good if they it would be wasted chapters, the preparation they've already done,
if they didn't actually win.
They kind of have to succeed in a way.
Yeah, in a way. Maybe they get a hit on her and they're like, "Yes, we won." And she's like, "Okay, I'll tell you." And as she's about to tell them, boom, the wall blows up and the bad guys jump in.
And then she has to sacrifice herself in order to beat Kanaguri, because his powers are so broken that it takes somebody like her to do it, maybe.
Another prediction to write down. Anyway, how did you like this chapter? I said it was mostly setup, so that's all right. Yeah, the actual action in this was very quick. Just a very brief conclusion to that chase sequence.
I really like the bit where Amane jumps down, so that's why I gave it way higher points than usual. Higher points compared to all of the other series. It's getting 66 points from me, which is my second favorite
pretty good
chapter from this issue. But like, to be fair, 66 is relatively low.
Yeah. Nothing in the 70s or 80s yet.
Nope.
Anyway, going on. We got something that you haven't read and also will not really go to the very high ratings.
Oh.
It's Black Clover, chapter 336.
I kind of know what's happening. But do tell me, because I didn't read it.
Yes, I'll tell you. So this chapter is all the Magic Knights have regrouped after the very brief battle with Lucius. Because he teleported away pretty quickly. He didn't kill anybody. He just mind controlled Sister Lily and then had her teleport Asta to the training arc dimension. And then they left. And that was it. But in the regrouping for the good guys, they get a guy who can teleport into any shadows. And he's like, I've tried to teleport into Asta's shadow, but I can't. So either he's in another dimension, or he is somewhere so far away that my power can't reach it, or he's dead. Yeah. So all of the other Magic Knights are like, well, I guess he's dead then. And they're just sad about it. And Yami does the Arthur. Or wait, no, it's Yuno. Yuno does the Arthur fist meme, where he's clenching his fist because he's so angry about Asta being dead.
Sure.
And he declares that from childhood he had always seen Asta as his rival, and Asta had always seen him and said, "Oh, you were progressing faster than I am," because was getting higher rankings.
He was getting so good.
The Magic Knights, yeah. So he was always like, you're always a bit ahead of me because you're always higher ranking. And reveals that he'd always actually considered Asta to be better than him because he was growing his powers faster, even though he wasn't getting as high ranks. So he was like, well, now that Asta's dead, I guess I will have to be the Wizard King instead of him, because he was the one who is going to be the Wizard King.
Oh, you said Wizard King. I thought you said Lizard King.
No, Wizard King. Yeah, so it's like reading this part, it's like, oh, is this a main character switch? Like after 335 chapters, they're like, you know what? Asta is really boring. Let's kill him and make the main character now.
Wouldn't be the first time this kind of happened, because if you remember that Naruto did this for a relatively long period of time, the camera was entirely focused on Sasuke.
Yeah. But in that case, Sasuke was on his own adventure.
Yeah.
It wasn't that we thought Naruto was like dead.
We don't think that Asta is dead right now.
Do we? Right now? Do we? At this moment, I think that some people might have. Because then we get cut to the bad guys, and we have the Wizard Emperor Lucius, and he's got evil Sister Lily and 3 other paladins with him. Doesn't show who those other 3 are, and he's talking to one of the devils.
Who is it?
Adramalek. However you say it. And they declare that they're going to have to kill Yuno as well. They're like, okay, for world peace, we're going to kill Yuno, just like we killed Asta for world peace. But
his last name is Grinbariol?
Yeah, it's a weird last name.
The fuck is that name?
Yeah. Also, he's an orphan, right? So you'd think that they just be like, you can make up your own last name.
Yeah, that's why it's such a weird name. They told a 6-year-old child, like, pick a name you think
It's
sounds
like
good. He's like, yes.
I'm forgetting the name. There's I think a dentist named Dr. Loki Sky Wizard. And the explanation for that was that when he was a little kid, then he said, I want to change my name. And his parents were like, that's pretty funny. Let's let him change his name on his actual, like, official documents.
That's pretty funny.
So they let him change his name. And when he was like, I don't know if he was 6, but he was pretty young. So he's like, oh, what's the coolest name I can think of? Loki Sky Wizard. So he changed his name to that. And then he grew up and, actually
never regretted it.
He never regretted it. He got a degree and works professionally under that name, which is awesome.
Nice.
Speaking of Loki, the final shot this chapter is the reveal. Asta's not dead. He just got teleported to the training dimension, and there's a mysterious shadow man standing over him.
What's that got to do with Loki?
Because that happened in the Loki TV show. Loki, there was a fake out where it seemed like he got killed, and then the next episode it reveals that actually he just got teleported to the training dimension.
I see.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't the training dimension of that. It was the end of time dimension or something. But it was where he got stronger. So basically a training dimension. And that's where Asta
the fact that some person recognizes Asta, that means it can't be somebody the readers don't know yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Possibly. I don't know. Possibly. We will find out next week. Either way, I'm a little bit like, I wish that it gave more time to showing what Yuno is going to do without Asta around before it shows, like, here's what Asta is up to.
Is that guy wearing a kimono?
Looks like it.
Is that one of those very distinct Japanese setters in the background? Could it be that he's in Japan?
Yeah.
Isn't that where also Toilet Man comes from?
Yes, Toilet Man is from the Japan of the Black Clover universe.
So that's where he is.
And so he got teleported to Japan. So maybe it's someone that Yami knows and he told him about. Because earlier there's a flashback for Yami of how he became a magic knight. And it's basically that I think he was lost at sea and he washed up on the shore and the Wizard King found him and was basically like, you're pretty good. Get in. Yeah. And he thus became a magic knight.
I see.
So, but it kind of seemed to me like he didn't have any contact with his homeland. So it is a bit odd that, like, now it looks like there's a guy in a kimono and there's one of those Japanese theaters and then someone recognizes Asta. That's a bit strange. So a mystery to be discovered manga next week. Yeah.
Asta's going to power up by finding Pluton.
Yeah, that's right. They just finished Wano in One Piece. So they're like, there's not enough Japan in our fantasy series. We need to get more Japan in another one of our fantasy series.
Tabata looked at One Piece, leaving Wano. He's rubbing his hand like,
he's like, I'm there. I'm going now. Now it's my turn.
No. He's like, free real estate.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So yeah,
it's my turn to play with the Japan.
I was hoping for more stuff of Black Clover minus Asta, but I guess him training in Japan could also be pretty interesting. So,
who knows?
Yeah,
I'm not excited.
I usually say don't bother with Black Clover because there's just a lot of nothingness in the parts that I've read from earlier arcs. But I'm like, if you want to get into it, might as well start here because it's a training arc.
I see.
Everyone's separated. Yeah. Anyway, going on now to something
next
I haven't read. Blue Box. Tell me about Blue Box. They got another color page. They get so many color pages.
Yes, it's weird, isn't it? Maybe it's just now that we're paying extra close attention that we notice how often this happens. Maybe back in the day it always happened. But you know what? I've been reading Jump for at least 20 years already. And even I feel like it was never this often.
Yeah.
The single color pages it feels like they've increased. And the color spreads have decreased. To me, at least. Anyways.
Anyway, what happens
the
this chapter?
Japanese looks better again. They desaturated it in the international.
Somehow the coloring on the title looks better in the Japanese.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't just use the same texture.
It's because they insist on making it blue because the title is blue box. They don't want to have this weird meme where, well, a little bit, but they don't want to have it the meme where people write the word yellow and paint the word green.
Yeah, it confuses you when you look at it. You're like, what color is this? And you read the word instead of saying the color. Or the other way around. Yeah.
So, this chapter is the chapter in which Chinatsu Senpai expresses her feelings towards Taiki as a budding flower. And she's talking to her best friend Karen, who is like a supermodel. And then Karen's sister shows up, and it's the girl who's going to steal Taiki away, and she's making her offensive now. So,
wait, it's someone we saw before?
Yeah, it's the girl from the AV room.
Oh, the sister is. Oh.
Yes.
Now the connection has been revealed.
So, it starts where we left back off last week, where Karen asked her, do you already have somebody you're interested in? She's like, yes, I do. And it shows the picture. You remember the page where I said he wanted to leave it empty, but then the editor said, no, put something else and you can't do this again.
Yeah.
And he put Taiki in there. So it continues where she admits, yes, it's Taiki. Karen knows. She has the nuclear option. She knows that Taiki loves Chinatsu Senpai. She doesn't tell her in this situation.
Oh no.
She just inquires like, how do you like how is your feeling?
Yeah, she knows that the manga hasn't been canceled yet. So she's like, I can't tell her yet.
So Chinatsu Senpai is like, okay, I'm interested in him. I can't say that I like him. I'm just interested. It's like a budding flower, a budding plant. It's not really clear what kind of flower it is, but it's a budding plant. It's a budding flower, and right now it's still a bud. It's kind of like a small sprout. And every time she thinks about him and stuff that they've done, then it's growing. So it uses on the next page the imagery of some kind of like
flower imagery or plant,
sprout
imagery.
Non-descriptive plant, and her thinking about it is like her watering it. Karen is like, yeah, I guess I kind of understand that somebody who's super focused on her own career wouldn't have enough romantic feelings inside her to like even go immediately to, oh, I like this guy, because normal people, she's like, normal people would immediately go, oh, I have a flower, that means I like him.
Yeah,
she's like, nah,
going back to
I only like him when the flower blooms.
Yeah, well, I mean, remember the Witch Watch one with the magic spell to make something grow on your head to show your feelings?
Oh yeah,
that happens. It's like that.
So they get interrupted by Karen's sister, who is the
new villain.
Reveal. It's the girl from the AV room. She's the one who was shown to be a total skank. She constantly sleeps around with guys. She's dating everybody and breaking up with them immediately because none of them are high value to her. She always finds some fault with him. Like, for instance, it's in
Such
this
a
chapter
heartbreaker.
in this chapter she explains like, oh yeah, I already broke up with my last boyfriend because when we go to Starbucks and he was ordering, the guy at the cashier couldn't understand him, and that like gave that I hated that, so that's why I broke up with him.
I
She's
saw a
extremely fickle.
viral tweet yesterday making fun of girls like that, which was just a screenshot from some girl explaining why she broke up with her last boyfriend, and it was that she had it wasn't even something that he did. She
was
just
something
had
that she imagined.
Yeah, she had a mental image of him standing alone in a school cafeteria carrying his lunch with no friends around him. And just that mental image made her dump him because she's like, oh, now I'll always think of that when I see him. It's like, oh, that's so petty and fickle. It's like must have been something else that she's just explaining it with that weird way, because otherwise, like, why would you dump someone over a random mental image that you have of them being weird?
Some people are just idiots and do the weirdest stuff for no reason. So since she says she's already broken up with her old boyfriend, she's got her sights on somebody else. And they ask her like, why do you want
from Snow White?
Yes, because she says, I'm only interested in that like they talk about why you would be interested in somebody, right? And Karen is like, I wish you were more like Chinatsu Senpai, who doesn't immediately jump to like, oh, I'm interested in this guy, meaning I love this guy. She's like, yeah, the person I'm interested in, I like him because of his looks, and then it switches to Taiki, who I don't think is particularly handsome, but okay.
He's so normal looking. The way he's drawn, it's just
yeah.
Isn't he like an everyman type character? He's not.
Yes.
He's not a unusually cool looking guy like when we saw Yoshida in Chainsaw Man Part 2.
Yes.
Like, who's this handsome guy? He's not like that. He's pretty normal.
So then Chinatsu Senpai returns to the Inomata household because her grandfather is okay again, so she doesn't have to go to the hospital again, and her mother can return to America. And this scene is extremely bad because Taiki, look, the whole family is like, oh, welcome home. You're kind of like our own daughter. We already love you so much, and it's we've missed you while you were gone. And Taiki says literally nothing, looks at her, and then looks away. And it's so out of character for him to give her the cold shoulder, even though nothing happened to make him feel that way. The only thing that happened is that he accidentally, it looked like he kissed somebody, and he didn't get the chance to tell Chinatsu Senpai that he didn't explain it. And that kind of makes him, like, in this scene, it appears as if he's angry at her. And she looks at him and wants, like, oh, I want some explanation. He's like, nah, not gonna do it. And it kind of makes him look like a total asshole.
Not good. It seems like this is another one of those things that is kind of relatable, because like, oh, I can imagine that happening as a teenager, but you don't want your characters you're reading about to do that.
Yeah. Then the scene switches to next day in school, in the gym. Hina talks to Taiki again, and all of the NPCs are kind of treated as if they're a force of nature that's like it's pushing them
the rumors
together. Yeah. It's so annoying because like normally, like, can't two people talk to each other without like the whole school is just surrounding them like, oh, they're talking about them.
I think in that case it might be like it might be presenting the sort of thing where it's not that they really are all talking about them, but it's from Taiki's perspective as he's become self-conscious of it. and that's why he feels like everybody who sees them is going to be talking about them.
I wish that were the case. I don't think it is.
It needs to be explicit about that.
Hina says she in order to stop the she's going to use that to her advantage. And whenever somebody is asking her about it, she's like, yeah, the ball's in his half of the field, and if he wants to make it real, he can do it. And he gets really angry at that, and then she bails because like she's a goblin who just
like, no, I'm a guy character who has to choose between girls, and they want me to actually choose. The manga will end.
He was trying to keep her safe from all of the rumors, and she's like,
but
nah,
she doesn't
I
care.
love it. I love it. This is
funny.
This is fine, actually. And then finally, Ayame appears in the badminton club, but not as a player, as the manager. And then this is something that usually
isn't it common for like in manga to have some sports team and the manager is someone who's just
it's always a girl.
Yeah, it's the girlfriend of one of the players. She's not actually like into the sport. Isn't that common?
Yes, but you mean like she's the girlfriend of all of the players.
Depends on the rating. Depends on the rating of the manga that you're reading.
According to all of the mangas that I have read, that seems to be the case.
Were those really sports manga though?
I mean, they had more sports than Blue Box, but that doesn't say a lot.
Yeah. So how would you rate this now that things are getting convoluted with a new girl in the mix?
Let's see. 50 points. It's just okay, like barely okay.
Just okay. Acceptable. All right. Well, let's go on to another chapter that maybe also acceptable. It's the Elusive Samurai, chapter 76, Mounted Single Combat. So it's time for the next battle. And battle. They explain about how powerful Uno gets because he imagines being able to lay on magically mighty Momichi's lap and then powering up just from that.
See, the way I describe it is he thinks about a woman, and then he redirects all of the blood from his penis into his muscles.
Yeah. Basically, one thing that I wanted to point out about it is that they mentioned the specialties of all of these shrine maidens.
Yeah.
Like the one here, it's the her specialty is being the motherly type. One of them is described as the pheromone specialist.
Yes, she smells.
Do they even have an idea of what that means back then?
No, of course not, but
I guess just the good smelling one. The pheromone specialist. Yeah, so they fight and they're pretty evenly matched, Uno and Shibukawa, until these guys shoot at Shibukawa.
Pretty smart tactic.
Yeah. And everyone's like, "No, what are you doing?" But it's revealed that actually it was a false flag from I forget the guy's name. The
small one.
Teams. The other team's femboy.
Let's just call it the Ashikaga side.
Yeah, the Ashikaga femboy sets up this false flag, and he even does like a Garam hand when he's talking about it.
Yeah. So this is a really smart tactic because
it is. It's great.
The way to power up Shibukawa is to make him angry about
make him think that someone's trying to be unfair.
Yeah. So they just need to pretend to be part of the enemy camp and give him the weakest sucker punch possible. Right. And that pumps him up so hard that he can overcome the insult magic from Uno.
Yeah, and he defeats him. And then I guess after the 1v1, then
we
everyone
get to
else
see
fights.
What it's like behind the scenes.
Yeah, I thought that this cutaway was like, I don't know. I thought it was a bit too sudden from that battle to
Yes,
this.
kind of.
It cuts away to I forget this shrine maiden's name.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but
we just get to see what happens behind the scenes where soldiers return to the camp and maybe
all the people helping out. So many people.
Maybe they need their wounds tended to. Maybe they need to register the guy they killed.
Yeah,
and that's a whole system.
The most
apparently,
focus on that. Yeah, because for those who do not know, medieval warfare had a lot of headhunting.
Literally.
In Japan, literal headhunting. I think in Europe it was ears that you would prove that you killed someone with their ear.
But they want to determine who you killed. Yes, so if you only kill some kind of low life,
I think in that it was like the number of guys you kill. But in this, it's you have to present somebody, an enemy warrior you killed, their head, and you get more honor if the person you killed was higher ranking. So that's why the Shrine Maiden is like, oh, one of the jobs here behind the scenes is when somebody brings a head, then not only we try to identify who it was, but also we'll clean it up so it looks more impressive.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is all kind of like supposed to show the readers how medieval battles were fought.
But it's such a slow-paced cutaway, like in the middle of a battle.
Well, it gets interrupted by the action again. The surfer dude appears and is like, all of the women belong to me. And here's my prediction what's going to happen. Uno still isn't out of the picture, right? He only got slashed. And normally you would say, oh, that means he's like going to die because he can't fight in this condition anymore. But he's going to see that the surfer dude, like,
he's going after the girls. He's like, you're my opposite.
You know how that guy, the fat ugly bastard, right?
Yes.
There's a variant of that guy, and the variant is like the tanned
the surfer dude version.
The surfer dude who hangs out in Shibuya and has never surfed. This guy is that dude. And when you see that dude showing up in one of your thin books, it makes your blood boil because you're about to get NTR'd. And
not the characters, you.
Uno is going to see that and he's going to burst with so much energy.
You're right, because probably in that tent are all the girls he was imagining when he was powering up. Yeah.
He's going to get so mad. How he's going to turn the tide. That's my prediction. If that doesn't happen, I'm going to be so disappointed because I want to see him bursting with NTR energy.
Yeah, what a battle that'll be. It'll be even more epic than when Shibukawa thinks that he's been sneak attacked.
Yes.
It's another kind of sneak attack against Uno.
So, all in all, I would just say this chapter was okay. I gave it 55 points.
I didn't like the pacing of it.
Yeah.
The sudden switch to behind the scenes. Maybe if it was like intercut with battle stuff to be like, oh, meanwhile in the front lines. But I don't know. It had the feeling as if, oh, they're mid-battle and then suddenly stop and
explanation time.
Stop explanation time. It breaks the flow of the action.
That's why I only ranked it relatively low.
Yeah, but look forward to next week with the hopefully revival of our.
Oh, no. And we go to the next chapter.
Next
manga is PPPPPP. As always, you haven't read it. I have read it, and
how was it?
I like it. Bad, of course.
Oh no!
As always, this is the chapter in which Sorachika alludes to something going on inside Lucky that he himself is unaware of, but that he will explain through his own play. And next chapter is going to be Sorachika's play. But first of all, we get to see what Sadame is up to. That's the long-haired dude with a missing tooth who's always hanging out.
The end of last week.
Yeah, and this manga is even more vague than Uron Mirage, because it starts off with him going like, "Ha! I'm going to show you ... and then he walks off.
Really? There's nothing after that?
Yes. Then Sorachika goes like, "Oh, you have something inside you, Lucky, that will emerge, and when the time comes, you will know." And he's like, "Well,
something.
What's your current what is he asking him? What's your current goal or something?" And he's like, what did he even answer? I forgot. Let's say he's like, "I want to win."
Okay.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, that means there's something else, and you will see what it is." And then Reijiro meets up with Fanta and is like, "Oh no, Mimin, why are you hanging out with our brother who's the enemy right now? Check out all of the points. Aren't you kind of like worried that we're going to wipe the floor with you because we have more than twice as many points as you?"
That's a big point difference.
And it's already the halfway point. So like, you would have to win so hard at this point. And
is there even catching up able to be done?
And then finally he's like, "Okay, so Sadame is abnormal, Sorachika is a god, so who will win?" And that's the chapter.
Wow. Okay. So no actual performance this week.
No,
just
nothing.
Everyone speaking vaguely.
Yes.
So how do you rate that?
35.
It doesn't
at the very least, it wasn't completely laden with CSP stock.
Oh, yeah, just this page, really, with the theater filling up with people.
Yeah, but that's mostly
mostly is characters being drawn.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say about this.
All right,
let's move on to the next manga, which is My Hero Academia, in a weirdly late slot on the table of contents.
Yeah, usually this is one of the earlier ones you read.
But, I wish it was indicative of last chapter being extremely unpopular.
It might be. Was it unpopular? I don't really follow like polls and stuff.
The thing is, I
didn't like it, but
I've seen way more people complaining about it who normally say that My Hero Academia is the best. So that's why I have the impression that, at least in the Western fandom, more people were kind of
might be like that.
Unhappy about it because it was such an asshole.
Too. It was.
Just like I said last week, everybody had already settled with Bakugo probably being dead.
Yeah.
And then
that's right.
Introducing
it was such a strange place to do it, and then just the fact of pulling this guy who it's like, we're gonna have this guy sacrifice himself to save Bakugo. He's Best Jeanist's friend from high school, and he has very similar power.
It's so similar that it's almost laughable at why Best Jeanist.
Right? Why didn't Best Jeanist he just sucks at stitching, but at stitching people's bodies, I guess he's not Julian level. So yeah, the first page. I don't like his internal monologue.
Yeah.
And Sean is talking about infiltrating this boy's innards. It's like,
gonna get inside this boy.
You sure you don't want to rephrase that?
I'm gonna ask him for the troll toll.
I was about to ask, do you think he paid the troll toll?
That's what things happen.
Yeah.
He loves it. He wants to be in there so hard.
He was
just waiting for it.
He's going zip, zap, all in there. And then we get more Mirko damage.
Yes.
It's not stopping. Shit. I think a few weeks ago, I'm like, I said that by the end of the series, she's just going to be a head, and the rest of her will be robot parts because she's gotten damaged so much. It continues.
Yeah.
It's like every chapter, she's getting another part of her body destroyed.
Ripped off brutally.
Yeah.
Somebody bit her arm off. This is.
I don't like
it. I don't know why he hates Mirko so much that he needs.
I don't think he hates Mirko. He's got the
fetish,
the katawa shoujo fetish.
Yeah, the FT fetish.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No, but it's weird that he's doing that to the one muscular woman who should already fill a certain niche.
You're right. Hey, well, also he killed off Star and Stripe, so it's like Horikoshi's fetish is damaging strong women. Yeah, that's gotta be it.
Sexist.
Yeah,
it's terrible. He needs to be cancelled. And
one thing also I wondered is like, it seems like he's having trouble with her. He keeps coming back with attacks.
Look at the top left panel. That's the reminder. That's a flashback to the attack that Bakugo, I think, dealt him. The one explosion that didn't seem to do anything, even though it was the biggest.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to show that he's now like the battle damage is creeping up on him.
Yeah.
Which I don't like, because Bakugo's attack is nowhere near as good as the extremely powerful laser that
Sun Eater
was shooting through him.
Yes. Yeah, that was one thing I was going to mention was what is the point of Mirko like keeping fighting? Because it's sort of this thing where it's more about, you think it's more about her, like it's showing her determination to keep fighting no matter how injured she is. But then Shigaraki seems to hate it. Like he seems to be taking damage from it.
Yes, for once.
But so what's her power? It's just rabbit.
Just being
rabbit.
Strong.
Yeah, she's just strong. It doesn't. It's weird.
I think she's the equivalent, the My Hero Academia equivalent of Spider-Man, except her powers isn't
it's rabbit instead of spider.
Yes, she has proportional rabbit powers to her human size.
Yeah, but it's just strange that like Sun Eater's giant blast did nothing, and then Mirko is able to actually hit him with just kicks and bites from a rabbit.
No, it's because Sun Eater's blast maybe did like 10% damage, and at that point you don't even see that something got lower. Then Bakugo did his thing, and that put his life bar into like it took a huge chunk out of it, but since it was still orange, like in Bloodborne, it looked like it was still like he could still get it back, right? But now that time has already passed,
so
the orange went down.
He hasn't recovered his blood.
Yeah, and he didn't recover it, and that's why now suddenly he only has like 20% of his health, and now it staggers him. Now that Mirko is hitting him.
Okay. That's the logic. That could kind of make sense. Yeah, that would make sense. But it's just it feels weird that he just seemed to be shrugging off everything until now.
Just because they've been hitting him so hard that now he's finally noticing.
It's more of a.
It's kind of like in Sekiro when you, like normally you just want to get the posture damage, but the posture damage increases the lower the HP is. So you can do both. You can lower somebody's strong enemy's health points, and that will also help you do the finishing blow with the posture damage.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Okay, so they have been lowering his posture with all the attacks, even though it doesn't seem to have lowered his health very much.
Yes.
He's finally at low posture.
Yes.
That's a good way to interpret it. Yeah, so here's...
Look at what an MVP she is. She's doing such a cool barrage.
With getting hurt so much. Yeah, she's finally low enough HP to do her rage art. And... it's called Luna Rush. So here she goes to really beat him up a lot.
She's only doing it with her legs.
Yeah, because her arms are gonzo. And then we get a new next evolution for Shigaraki.
This kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, his Blorp Schwarp hands got even crazier, and now are like generating. Because before it was starting to get eyes and mouths as well as just hands, and I at those points I was thinking, is this some ability to the body that relates to how All for One has regenerated? But then it turned out that it's actually completely unrelated, because All for One's regeneration was not anything related to the modifications they did to Shigaraki's body.
See, the thing is,
of Eri's rewinding powers.
Now that you mention it, maybe the connection to the All for One who's currently reverting. Maybe there is something to that. The way I interpreted it and the way I predicted it, if you remember, is that since Shigaraki said that all of the growths that he's
it's just his body
right now, he said that's my body, right? Because it's not his quirk. Because otherwise, if it was a quirk, then it wouldn't activate, though he's getting looked at by both Monoma and Eraserhead. Here's the thing. I already speculated some weeks ago that all of these growths are not Shigaraki himself, but it's the manifestation of all of the quirks stored up in All for One, kind of trying to get out. And since they're still inside his body, he can still control them. But essentially, it's all the people he's already slurped up trying to get out. And now, I'm not even sure.
I don't think it's that, because he seems to have he can control them. So it's not. I don't think it's that. But it is weird because it is connected to Shigaraki's history himself.
It's possible that he's losing control over them.
Possibly, because now coming out of his hands, it looks like his dead family.
Is it his family or is it randos? That's
so. I
the
thought
most important question.
Well, it's because the page before this shows him having a flashback to his family before he accidentally all of them. Right?
Yes.
So that I think that this is.
Give me 1 second.
Okay. I think that this is his body, like, doing a weird generation of stuff based on his memories. But to be honest, it's gross. I kind of don't care about the Shigaraki battle without Deku being there, because I know that they're not going to be able to defeat him until Deku arrives. So Shigaraki he can't lose, no matter how many final rabbit attacks or giant laser beams or explosions they throw at him. He's not allowed to die until Deku shows up.
That's true.
So I'm like, at this point, without Deku being there, to be honest, I'd be more interested in seeing what Toga and the girls are doing than whatever this is.
It's true.
Right?
Especially because Toga can now use twice.
Yes.
So and essentially, all of her if she clones, all of her clones will also be able to use her power and turn into different.
The thing is that if she clones herself, she can't replicate the blood that she's taken. But each one of the clones could take one of the vials that she already has.
Yes.
Yeah, so she could like instantly replicate a bunch of amazing powers and make it very difficult for Froppy and Urevity to deal with her. So I am kind of more interested in that, and it's been months since we've seen them. It's been so long, longer than since we've seen Deku.
Yeah, who knows what's going on there?
Who knows? Anyway, I was kind of meh on this chapter. Did you give it a number?
I said 65. Fine. But that's mainly just because Mirko is like powering through all
Such a
of the battle
boss.
damage. And yeah, she's being girl boss.
Yeah, girl boss Mirko. She's like, she's the hardest working of the heroes here.
That's true.
And able to avoid the kill shot, because she's getting her arm torn off, but she's not getting one shot like Bakugo did.
Right.
She's doing a better job than him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that you just said that. I'm way more into her now.
Yeah.
That you compare her to Bakugo being a shit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next
manga.
series.
We got
next manga. Sugoi.
Sugoi. It's so sugoi. This chapter
Main
is
character
17.
has arrived.
Boken's evaluation. That's right. The new main characters are here. Boken and Rei. They introduce themselves to Q, and yeah, they have a little chat.
Evaluate his ability.
That's right. That's why it's called Boken's evaluation. It's not really Rei who's wanting to evaluate him. It's Boken is like, I've got a test for you, basically.
He's just the mascot being cute on the side. That's what the series was missing. Like somebody who's just eye candy.
Yeah, because Q has his childhood friend, but other than the little pep talk she gave him last week, where she presses her body against him to power him up, to not be depressed, we don't really get much of her. Like Q doesn't have a friend who's always with him. It's just him talking to his phone.
Yes.
So this is really what the series needed.
Yes.
Is a more upbeat characters. One of them is a cute girl.
That's mainly because Q himself is just such a wet blanket. He's he never shows emotions, and well, last chapter, that's the first time when he was actually
it's the first time we actually got to see emotions from him, because I think even before I was pretty critical at the times that he was in danger and he didn't show any emotion, because I was like, I don't think that we can, as the audience, can feel the level of danger that he's in when he doesn't show it on his face.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just that's his character type, but we need to have more people around who can actually emote to kind of be a foil.
Or alternatively, he needs to be in a position where he actually has to develop his emotions.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on in this chapter. So
I like this chapter because we get a lot of the explaining of how you do things.
Yes,
that we always want from this sort of stuff.
Completely congruent with what you said last week. You predicted this.
Unlike Imura, then Boken and Rei, they not only did some research with their smartphones, but they directly went face to face with the people who they figured out to be kind of close to the empty spot that they assumed must be a smartphone user.
Yeah, even though they found several empty spots somehow.
Yeah. Somehow.
They figured, this might
went
be
to the next step.
lead.
Do some old school person-to-person detective work.
Snooping.
A lot of snooping. So I like that a lot.
It's nice. It's nice that finally we get some conclusion on this plot point.
Yes.
Where, like, there was this chapter where Q had to sign a police document that his bike was found at the crime scene of the high-rise incident.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't exist if it never came back. We knew it would come back. The question was just when would it come back?
And also, who would find it first? A friendly smartphone user or an enemy smartphone user? Fortunately, a friendly one found it first. And I like Boken. So Rei, she's a bit too much of a she's just there type of character. She doesn't really say that much.
She's just supposed to be cute. So.
Yeah, she's just there. But I did like that they actually had looked into the high-rise incident. Because I think at their first introduction, where it showed, Rei is just using her smartphone to own trolls online, and Boken is using it to try to find ancient buried treasure. It's like, oh, these people are. It's very teenage mindset sort of stuff,
Right.
but they're not going to use it to actually make changes in the world. Unlike Q going around trying to solve crimes. But then we find out that even though that's how they were introduced, that's not the only thing they're using their phones for. They actually are looking into stuff and doing a bit of research. So that's
yes,
cool.
They're working on the case.
They are also on the case.
Is.
And we got some inner monologuing from Boken where he's thinking about whether Q is trustworthy or not. Because Q is also like, can I trust these people? They could be working with Zenichiro. And we get an inner monologue from Boken who's basically like, we're not working for Zenichiro, but we want to check out what the other smartphone users who are in conflict with each other are like to see whose side we should take.
Yes.
And I'm like, getting an inner monologue, it really is like he's the new main character.
Right. He really
and we also got a very brief flashback about his parents who are explorers. And I'm going to just go ahead and say that they are the ones who died 7 years ago in his life.
I forgot about that.
They said before, everybody who has a super smartphone, the thing that connects them is that they lost somebody 7 years ago. Very specifically, 7 years ago.
I forgot about that, but it's true.
I think Boken probably, his parents are dead, and I'm going to assume, because they are shonen manga protagonists, that he's living in a house with Rei. And he wanted to dig up the buried treasures so he could keep their big house.
Coming back.
Yeah. So his evaluation is to challenge Q. Because he busts in and he's like, we found out your name pretty easily.
Right.
So my challenge to you is, if you want us to work with you, you have to find out my name. So I'll give you 3 days to find my identity.
Can you go to the
next page? This is after his challenge. Yeah.
Somehow I didn't take
did
a
you
picture of that. There was a panel of where they think about Zenichiro, and Zenichiro was depicted as like a figure made out of light on top of an Aztec pyramid, and it's so weird that he would like be portrayed this way. But
yeah, I don't think I remember that.
I just wanted to point it out because it was
see if I can find
funny.
it to flip it in here, because I think the main thing I thought of when he was thinking about Zenichiro is it shows there's also a panel showing Zenichiro's face.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have his wine glass with him. So Boken and Rei, they know Zenichiro exists, but they don't know that much about him. They don't know that he's always got a wine glass with him.
I mean, Boken was. By the way, Boken means adventure.
Just so okay. No. Yeah. Like in the title of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He was listening in on their conversation with Seomizu. So that's why he probably knows immediately who Zenichiro is. What's weird is that even though they have been listening in on that and they kind of like keep tabs on Seomizu, they didn't know that Mogura has died. So that's
that is a bit of surprise.
The gambit or rather, that's the thing that
the new reveal.
The new reveal to them that made them reconsider if they should. They should. No, if they should challenge Q in this way. It's the thing is, they challenge him to find information. Q jumps ahead and is like, "Nah, I'm just gonna.
I'm gonna grab your phone out of your pocket."
Yes. And Boken is like, well, did you just become retarded?
Yeah. Instantly throws him down and pulls a knife on him.
Because Q did something that is very uncharacteristic of him, but also kind of proves to Boken that Q does have the fire in him. But I just don't like that. The fire that got started inside him is the fire of Mura's death.
No, yeah, I don't like that. Muro is such a bad character. I don't want to have this where every time Q does something, it's gonna be like for Mora.
So for a second,
I don't want that.
For a second, he was going to blow off the challenge and go like, "Nah, we're going to side with Zenichiro now because you are kind of an idiot." After all, but then since he reveals that Mura has died, they're like, "Okay, we'll change our mind again. You get another chance," and then Q gets to be like, "I'm going to guess who you are," and
yeah.
I think
so
there's
when Q did this. So the end of it. First of all, Boken reveals that it was a fake knife he pulled on Q. He wasn't actually going to cut it.
Yes, because he's the main character.
Yeah, that's right. He wouldn't do a cruel thing like that.
Yeah. He can't be a knife wielding.
Look
at the size of that knife.
I know.
It's pretty big.
Although I'm kind of like wondering, do you think after learning that Mura was killed, do you think he's going to start carrying around a real knife for self-defense? Could be. What if he switches from being the main character to being the knife-licking psycho of the series?
It would be such a surprise.
The allied knife-licking psycho.
For a change. No, it would be a really big surprise if now that we, the readers, know that he has a fake knife, that sometime later he pulls out the knife and then it's kind of like, oh, it's a problem because we know it's a fake, and then it's revealed that in the meantime he switched knives.
He got a real one, yeah. So the final page is Q declares he's going to guess who Boken is. After Boken's like, you have 3 days, then Q's like, I'm gonna guess it right now. So the only way that I thought possible that he could do it kind of doesn't make sense still. Because my thought is off screen while he was being all depressed about Mora, or either during that or after that and before Boken and Rei show up, he started doing lots of research, and Rei narrowed down to a small number of people of who could be the possible other smartphone holders. But then if he had that in his pocket already, why would he try to rush Boken to grab his phone? I mean, I guess that action, because it contextualizes it here as if that was the correct action for him to take, because it proves to Boken and Rei that he's got the fire in him.
Yes.
But also, it could also have just told them this guy's stupid, which it did. Because on the previous page, he's like, did your IQ drop? So why would he do that if he already had like a short list that he could have guessed from?
I'm hoping that he's taking some kind of cues from his clothes and from some other equipment that he has, just from visuals, and then kind of. Oh, by the way, did you notice that his
Sherlock Holmes at him?
Yes. Did you notice that his hair strand is behind his eyebrow?
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that kind of drawing style for a while.
I hope he's going to take some info.
Like, for instance, the same way.
If he like, for instance, took the earring and go like, oh, I know that this is kind of like a special thing that only people of this family would have, and I happen to know that you are famous, and that's why
I'd be too reliant on coincidences to know stuff like that. So I'm like, I feel like he must have done some off-screen research.
And would that be as satisfying as him just doing some detective cool stuff? Probably not.
Yeah, either way, I'm like, it's kind of improbable for him to be able to guess who he is without.
Like he has to deduce it by maybe his nickname being Boken. Going like, okay, there can only be like 5 names that can be
instead of Ken or Bo in them.
Yeah, kind of like that. It's like going through all of the possible word plays and then applying that to some other information that maybe Rei dropped accidentally.
Yeah, we'll find out. Because I mean, I guess we could possibly read it again very deeply and see if they've dropped any hints, but I don't really think they did drop anything beside their nicknames. Oh well. Yeah.
Let's get surprised next week.
Either way, I gladly welcome the addition of these two to the team because I disliked Q teaming up with Mora. That was really bad. And then just Q on his own is just too dry.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad to have these two with us now.
Q does have Kimi to bounce off of, but Kimi just is even drier.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Anyway, going on. Next we have
manga.
Aliens Area, Chapter 13. Night Burning Akabane. What's Akabane? Is that a place?
Yes. Okay. And in the author's comments, Sai... What's his name? Naba. He says that he only picked this as the part of Tokyo to whether the story has to take place. No, because a friend lives there, and he just wanted an opportunity to be like, "Oh, I'm in the area. Let's meet." And then he found out that his friend is on vacation and not in Tokyo.
Oh, no.
So he's like, "That sucks."
How disappointing.
Yes, it's interesting. Let's see.
Yeah. Anyway, so this chapter, we get the sad backstory revealed for the bartender. And also one funny moment I thought is when the bartender offers them food and Tatsumi just happily eats it. And Sharaku is like, nah, I never eat anything offered to me. Just in case.
Tatsumi goes like, oh, shouldn't I have eaten that?
Yeah, he's like, what? Should I not have eaten that? I ate mine. But it's fine.
It would have been kind of difficult to... How would you put something into a shrink-wrapped rice onigiri?
She has a shrink-wrapping machine.
Mm.
Oh. What if you injected it with a needle? Oh. Yeah. Anyway, we get into the act. That was like a funny throwaway joke at the beginning. We get into the actual world building part of things. World building and plot is happening this chapter. It's so important. So the bartender tells her sad backstory, which is that she had used to be part of a third faction, because the factions that we know of that know about aliens. One is the alien cops, the Men in Black. We know about them.
Yes.
Second faction is the people the bartender works with currently, who I forget what they're called, but they help aliens. Polaris. And then third is the new group A3, which is anti-alien, but weirdly enough, also implants
like a cult.
Yeah, it seems like a cult, and they implant people with dark cells to heal them.
Yes.
And it's really strange. It's like, oh, so they hate aliens and they want to get aliens off of Earth, but at the same time they implant stuff in people that's from aliens. That's weird.
The imagery is really cult-like, and she talks about how they have special events, and they are giving each other these cells, which is supposed to heal each other, which is also, that's a thing, like a lot of cults in Japan act under the pretense that their belief heals all of your maladies.
Oh, yeah,
so if you have
like the healing church. Yeah, drink this blood.
Yeah, but they have so many of them. They have several thousand, probably, individual cults that all try to scam you.
That's crazy. I do remember when I visited there, I saw some pretty fancy-looking cult buildings.
Ooh. There's also shitty ones.
Gilded facades outside, yeah. Was the one from Mob Psycho a fancy one or a shitty one?
I don't remember what it looked like, but that was definitely a cult.
Yeah, definitely
also,
a cult.
Incidentally, the villains of the, what was it called? Hard Boiled and
were
Shark.
they also a cult?
That was also a cult. So it seems like if you make a story about
Japan, you're gonna have cults as bad guys.
Yeah, mildly supernatural cops. It's a safe bet to make the villains a cult because that's such an easy target.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's something that actually exists. But
one of the unless you want to target the Yakuza, then making a cult, the villains is like who else would we turn to? Anybody else would probably threaten us and tell us we are not allowed to make the story
in real life. But there's lots of cults, so then if you make it a cult, the cultists can just be like, "Oh, they're talking about a different cult. They're not." Is
that maybe the reason why Ayashimon got cancelled?
The Yakuza said, "No, this is getting too real." It feels possible, but I'm not going to test it out by going and doing more research. I don't want
You're not going to test it out by applying for Jump and making a story about Yakuza and waiting to see what happens.
Yeah. See if it's like when PewDiePie did that song where he's insulting T-Series.
Yeah.
And about how their origin started with selling bootleg stuff.
Oh, right. I forgot about that.
To the mafia. Then he has to add a line after that. Please don't kill me, Indian mafia.
Yeah. That was so good.
That's what Ayashimon author needed to do. He needed to put a page in it. Please don't kill me, Yakuza. That's a joke. Anyway, so the bartender keeps talking about her backstory and how she was part of one of these not one of these cults. This cult, the anti-alien one.
A3.
Until she met a guy who was from another planet and she fell in love. And I guess in Aliens area, when you fall in love, you become kind of badly drawn.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about how
look at these proportions here.
It's so funny how this panel, this extremely emotional and important panel,
I know it's like it's her sad backstory, but I can't focus on it because I'm just looking at how weird her proportions are in the drawing.
Her giga arm and
I know.
her tiny leg. Her big butt also, but
yeah, big butt, big arm, tiny head, tiny legs.
Turns out she was the alien all along.
Yeah, put on that lens, Tatsumi. See if you can see anything for her. Well, it's only her past. I think she's more normal looking in the present.
Yeah, she got pretty over summer.
Yeah, after she lost her love. So her backstory was that she fell in love with this alien guy. And there's a weird line. If love needs reasons, then it's fake. What do you think about that line?
Her whole thing is that she hates when somebody asks for a reason. So she's before anybody
reiterating the thing that from last week that we thought was dumb.
Before
she's like, do you need a reason to do something? And now she's extending it to her backstory.
No, she just wants. Yeah, it's her theme, and she before anybody in the room could ask her like, "How could you fall in love with an alien?" She's like, "Love doesn't need reason."
Cuts them off. Yeah. No, don't ask me. I'm not gonna say it.
Just saw his beautiful eyes, and that's when.
No, that's a reason. Don't describe it. That's just the time that it happened, but it's not a reason. Anyway,
okay.
So she fell in love with this guy and had to help him escape because her group A3 was going after him. And fortunately, she had a guy help them.
Yes.
And
Yukata.
What's his name? Yutaka. So he was kind of a ally to her in the past, even though he was part of A3 as well.
Was he though?
And him leave.
Who knows why he helped her? Sharaku speculates that Yukata probably loved her, and that's why he helped her. But maybe there's more to it.
Maybe there's something deeper.
The thing is, Sharaku does this thing where he... first of all, after she spills the beans, he's like, well, I never promised to not erase your memory.
Like, this is bad.
And then she's like, no. See, I'm just a small fry. I'm just a little baby boy. I'm a little baby birthday boy. Don't erase my memory. Here's more info on the bad cult that you probably want to investigate. I'm a witness, And then he's like, okay, fine. I feel like I lost or something. Even though that's probably like the ultimate goal.
It's the best result for him. But he's like, oh, I lost because I don't get to wipe her memory right now. Tatsumi is correct, saying this wasn't about winning or losing.
In general, I really like the dialogues in this chapter because there's this really nice back and forth where she says something slightly vague. Sharaku then uses his experience and knowledge about the whole world that we're not privy to, to explain and make like accurate assumptions and conclusions. And then Tatsumi adds some naive questions that break the ice between Akina and Sharaku, because if Sharaku asks, then she's blocking it. But since Tatsumi is also such a nice birthday baby boy, she's like, okay, fine, I'll tell you. And I like the dialogue, but this would have been even better if, like, Tatsumi, when they leave the building, Tatsumi is like, do you really feel like you lost something? I think we achieved something. And Sharaku would be like, yeah, that's what I said, in order to make her feel better about it. Because this whole situation was her kind of trying to assert dominance over the
even though it's all just avoiding getting her memory wiped, because they could do it at any time.
Yes. So
that would have been nice. It would have made Sharaku look even more clever. Because at this point, I was looking at him kind of like it's a weird personality quirk that they're giving him here.
I guess I can understand it, but it would have been better this way.
Yeah, I thought it was a bit weird. I wasn't too into it. You'd think he'd be more serious about, as you said, getting more information than he had hoped for. You'd think that even that would be a win, even if he's like, oh, it goes against my earlier assumptions from the conversation. This is actually a lot of good info.
Right.
So they leave. They're like, okay, we won't wipe your memory. We'll let you and these cat food eating aliens be. And then something shocking happens. I'm like, whoa, this is the twist that marks the end of, I guess, the first arc. Like last week I was saying about how much I disliked the kind of flow of action, the pacing of it, where it shoots up suddenly with the assassin plotline that just completely cancels that and then goes back to a training arc, and then it's just slow slice of life stuff. I thought like it's such a strange pacing, and I think this is the point where they're like, okay, now the real plot begins. So all that previous stuff was
we've befuddled you enough. You are prepared and lulled into a fake sense of security that nothing bad could happen, but now
Tatsumi and Sharaku walk out of the bar and they're just going down the street being like, okay, we got something out of that.
She was so nice. She even bribed us.
Oh yeah, that was one part that I specifically didn't like, where she gives them stuff and Tatsumi and Sharaku are like, oh, we can't take this, and she's like, think of it as a bribe. And they're like,
okay. At least they say that makes it worse.
Yeah, but then they take it. They should have been like, don't say that. We'll take it if you don't say that. But they're walking away and there's an explosion and they turn around and the entire bar is just incinerated. And it's like in Star Wars when Luke's uncle and aunt get skeletonized.
Indeed.
It's exactly like that. They go back and it's Yutaka sitting there among the flames.
And he has one of those alien gadgets, because there's this
the glowing circle around his wrist. He's also
can
got
assume the lighter is some kind of incinerating super lighter. Flamethrower?
Something like that, yeah. Somehow he blew up the whole place and killed everyone. And,
without himself being blown up.
And he himself was totally fine. And now they're going to have to fight. Because, man, what a twist. I did not expect the guy who is like friendly in the flashback to come back and be a villain.
Supposedly, it was not confirmed, and yeah, that was the big turning point for me as well. I was like, honestly, this shouldn't be that much of a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
But I think my expectations of the series have been lowered enough that this kind of like bumps it back
Something
up into...
interesting happened. Wow, didn't think of that.
Yeah. So that's the main reason why this is my favorite chapter of the whole issue.
Oh, wow.
It's still relatively low. It gets 69 points from me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this whole issue wasn't a big win from me.
No One Piece, no Witch Watch. How good could it possibly get? But yeah, this chapter interested me because as it was going with the introduction of the anti-alien organization, it's kind of like I was a bit meh on that, figuring like, okay, well, before we've only been getting antagonists who are aliens, and other than the assassin, they're pretty minor antagonists. So I thought that was going to be what it was going to go along with. It would be pretty much just Men in Black, and they would be fighting aliens the whole time. So it's interesting to have a new faction that is humans who want to fight aliens, as well as one that's humans that want to team up with aliens.
Kind of makes sense because
exactly.
Up until now, we've almost entirely... If you take all of the aliens that we've seen so far, I think we've now seen more friendly aliens than unfriendly aliens. Hostile aliens. So once you kind of accept that, most aliens are actually nice, then who's going to be the evil guys?
Right.
Can't be the aliens if we're supposed to feel sympathy.
It still could be. It still could be. I could see this having like an arc where they fight some human antagonists who are anti-alien, and then they fight some group that's teaming up with evil aliens. That's possibility for me. Like I think could be interesting still. I think before I said I would be fine if it was just more slice of life stuff, since they were kind of going in that direction with the smaller cop duty sort of things. And in those times, I was just thinking like we need to have better characterization, because I didn't feel like they really got as good of interactions between Tatsumi and the other Men in Black as they could have. But here it's a kind of a tonal shift. So like when the bartender was first introducing all of her backstory, I was still like, this could just be some world building, while it's still not really that much main plot, and they're just gonna leave and go on to some other small thing. But then suddenly, boom! Nope, we're in the main plot now.
Develops into something very shocking. Also, because they just found out it's her birthday.
Yes.
And that
she's other friendly aliens brought her the cake.
They brought her the cake, and she was waiting for the nice alien that she fell in love with. So you'd expect her to meet up with him, because now they're like, we from the police are in the way. We need to get out of here. So you can have the happy times, but then the not happy times appeared.
The opposite happened. Yeah, so it raises my hopes for the series of being interesting in the future.
Let's continue to be cautiously
optimistic.
Optimistic, because there's always the danger of main plot being the most boring part of bad, poorly written.
Yeah, because what if that is one fear for any of these new series, is what if they get to the main plot and it's like Earthchild and the main plot is really, really dumb.
Yes.
But speaking of which, let's get to the final chapter of Earthchild.
Finally, it's over.
It's over. Earthchild, chapter 27, Reisuke Sawada's Day of Destiny. So this one is another time skip, and like how
small one.
Yeah, a small time skip, just a few years.
How old do you think Mamoru is in here?
He's like 11. He's still a kid.
Yeah.
Because I think he's...
I would say 12, but he doesn't look
he's
like
11 or
he's
12.
12. He looks way older. Just from this panel alone, I kind of, because I didn't read elementary school.
You thought it was like middle school graduation?
I thought he was 18 now, just from this picture.
They could have done that. I wouldn't have minded it if they had gone that far forward and been like, yeah, it
doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
especially
it's the end.
All of the stuff that happened after the graduation,
right.
Where he's like, I want to party with my friends, and they're like, oh, well, we've already been thinking about like giving you a little bit more.
That part actually does make him seem older, like an older teenager,
right?
Because I feel like for graduation of elementary school, you don't go like, oh, go party with your friends. We'll stay here.
Yeah,
it's a bit weird.
But I mean, we don't really have to care about it anymore because
it's over.
Finally, ogre.
We got a little bit of motion of time. How do you call it? The passage of time shown by having a brief conversation between the waist guy and Albert. And the waist guy now has some gray hair, and Albert now has a beard. So they're like, oh yeah, it's the future. And then it shows how far in the future it is, and it's like, oh, it's like 5 years in the future.
You know what the One Piece equivalent of that would be?
What?
Dudes just having a little bit more scars on their faces.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's literally what happened with the main crew, right?
Yes!
They have a little bit more scars. So you know it's the future.
Everybody. So funny.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny how the parents are like, I miss him already. It's like, dude, he's going to middle school.
Over
he's
there.
not going to college. Yeah, he's right there.
See him.
He's right over there. And also, you're probably still going to have to walk him to school.
You can still telepathically ask him how he's doing.
Yeah, no matter how far he is.
You can literally turn into molecules and like probably let the wind blow you over into his direction if you really feel like you need to be with him right now.
And we get a
turn into molecules and watch him
Earth.
as molecules.
The Earth is now,
like Earth is watching.
Is now watching them with a slight smile on her face.
And not an evil watching smile. Him jerk off.
Earth-chan is, oh no. That's something that would really change your behavior, isn't it? If you had talked to the Earth and there's this like, I'm always watching you.
Maybe if I had talked to Earth and had a naked hug with her in the previous chapter, then yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So that's kind of just a follow-up to the conclusion of last week, where they're like, Earth, we're on your side, and then this one is like, their battle is only just beginning because they have to continue being useful to the Earth.
That's such a
slightly menacing when it's looking
extremely menacing.
Yeah.
If we ever slip up and kind of seem like we're like if we ever seem that we're not useful to the Earth, she's going to end us immediately. So like, what is in her opinion not being useful?
Yeah, like, they didn't really clear that up because I think the way they got the Earth on their side last time was basically saying we're useful, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't you should value us. The Earth didn't say, okay, I value you now as people. The Earth said, okay, I'll let you live because you're useful. So it's kind of not a good end since they still have this looming over them.
Mm-hmm. This world is kind of fucked.
Yeah, they reveal what they mean by Reisuke's Day of Destiny. Because they talk about Mamoru leaving. Yeah, he does look older here. I didn't realize he's even like
big.
Yeah, he's
they
big.
Secretly give him the aging up agent.
That's right. He didn't know it.
Breakfast every day.
Do you think that they originally were going to make him older, like graduating middle school or high school? But then at some point they said, oh no, but then his parents will have to look a lot older. And we don't want that.
Possible.
Do you think that's why?
That could be the
even though
answer.
it doesn't matter when it's in a manga and it's just like going to be noticeable on one page.
Right.
And it's not, and you can just draw them looking older. It's not like in Harry Potter where they do a time skip at the
You know
very
what?
end in the epilogue, and they're supposed
It's
to be
not that
20 years older, but they have really bad makeup.
It's not that he didn't wanted to do it. I think what's his name, Hideo Shinkai, was unable to do it without making them look really bad.
Oh, I can't draw them looking good.
Tried
and
and the page is already full with whiteout, and he's like, "Oh,
just let me rewrite it, make it a shorter
page. Just let me end it." Editor's like, "Oh, god damn it! Just draw them normally and change the part where it says
they reveal that Reisuke's destiny is just to be with Karere. That's it. He doesn't have a singular big event to save the world from the way that the Earth Children does.
Is his day of destiny. Because he's the everyday man.
That's right.
These final pages do something that I kind of missed from the beginning that I was mentioning a lot, which is
the background.
Yeah, all of the glittering, because all of the that's my conclusion after standing on a skyscraper in Tokyo and being like, oh, I get it. Every light is a person, kinda. So it's kind of like when in Gurren Lagann they said every light in the sky is an ally.
Oh yeah.
Every light in the city is a person, and that makes it so much more visceral,
like
about
meaningful when you look at all
meaningful.
The lights. Yeah.
I'm not alone. I'm this person who's protecting all of these lights.
Is that what you thought when you were standing on top of the skyscraper?
No, I was looking down and I was like,
all those little lights, those little lives
beneath me.
Yeah. Well, so what would you say for this chapter? I thought this was a completely inoffensive ending chapter. I liked it a lot better than the ending chapter of Doran Doraran.
It's hard to say which one had a better ending chapter.
Because the thing is that
it's so hard to be unbiased.
It's just an epilogue ending chapter.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I would say I seriously didn't like was this panel where they're like, who knows what the Earth will do to us? We might still get eradicated for no reason. I didn't like that. But then when it's to the couple saying, oh, our destiny is to be together and I'll help you when you're being a superhero. I like that. That was sweet.
I suppose, yeah.
The rest of the manga was pretty much rubbish.
Oh, it's so bad. It was the worst I've ever.
So my recommendation to anybody who is considering reading this series, read chapter 1 and chapter 27 and treat it as a one shot and don't read anything in between.
No, if anybody were to read this, I would recommend them to read it with the mindset of taking notes for what to never do in your storytelling. Because there's just so many bad examples for what not to do. And you can play a little game. You can pretend like, let's see how many I can spot. And you will come out with a list that will be rather extensive, I would say.
So do you think this manga is something that should be shown in every film class?
Yes.
No, every manga writing class, to tell people, here's an example of what not to do when you're writing your series.
Because the thing is, there's sometimes mangas, comics, whatever, stuff drawn by amateurs who can't even draw properly, right?
Like one, yeah.
Yes.
But have pretty good writing.
I wasn't going into that direction.
Okay.
One
You're
is
going the other way of people who can't draw and can't write either.
Right. So with those, obviously, you would say like, okay, this is garbage. This doesn't need to go anywhere. But usually when something gets published by a big outlet, it could be a big TV show. It could be a big movie. It could be a big book, right?
Yeah, you
usually
expect there to be a higher level.
Yeah, because there's more eyes on the project that can be like, no, this won't do, or we can't
change
print this. You have to change this. And this one is one of the examples that's not just bad in a way that makes you go, well, this is stupid. I don't want to read it. This is bad that makes you causes pain because it does so many garbage things. And it's easy to say
it could have been so much better.
It's easy to say Black Clover is mid, right?
Yeah.
But this because mid is just like It's like it.
I know what it's doing.
Exists.
It's not amazing me, right? But then
it exists. The art is okay. Bad. I just don't like it. This is so actively bad that it pulls the whole magazine down, I would say.
Oh, now it'll lift it up by leaving. The dropping the weight of Earthchild and Doraron, like Rock Lee dropping his leg weights. Boom, and now the magazine can move so much better.
It brings up at the speed of light.
That's right.
So I was like, it's impossible for me to be unbiased, even if this chapter was kind of like.
It's fine.
Inoffensive.
The actual chapter, it's fine. It's just when you think about what came before.
5 points.
Yeah, that's really good for Earthchild.
A multiple of 0 is infinite. So giving it 5 is like, what?
Right.
An infinite increase of points.
Yeah. So, was there anything else you want to say for this?
Yes.
Did you want to look at the
comments?
Yeah, author comments. Let me load those up. Where are you?
In the meantime, I'll tell you my ranking.
Tell me, yeah.
Best one this issue was Aliens Area.
Ooh.
Followed by Sakamoto Days, Macadamia, Super Smartphone, and then Roboco. And then Akane.
All right.
And I guess then is Oniyome Jujutsu, Elusive Samurai, Blue Box, PPPPP, and Earthchild.
So now that Earthchild is over, I think every week I ask, what do you think is the closest to being canceled after you say what you think are the 3 best ones? So do you have an answer this week? What do you think is the closest to being canceled? Or deserves to be canceled the most?
It's a close race between Aliens Area and Super Smartphone. Super Smartphone started the process.
Those are such
already.
Odd answers because both of those series give me the feeling like they're just beginning a new arc that could be quite good.
Yes, but also no, because this is like, we look at it and go like, oh, this is an improvement from previously. But the negativity from some of the previous things that happened are probably going to weigh down in their ratings and probably also like make the editorial department go, okay, try this. If you don't get immediate results from this, it's over.
Then you're done. Because I think we've talked about that before with like Shugomaru doing some really wild and crazy stuff. But I would say that for Super Smartphone, the change of adding the team up, it feels more planned than a sudden switch into we got to do something just to change it up before we're canceled.
That's the thing. I'm pretty sure that all of the characters were already pre-planned.
Yeah.
But it was a desperate act to introduce all of them at the same time. Because normally it would just progress by showing
one by
boken and
you could be right.
Individually, but not everybody else.
Yeah. See, I would, just based on what you showed me, I would have said PPPPPP because it seems like after this current piano tournament that they're doing, then there's not going to really be anything else to do. So they just
that's my thought. one can hope, but
anyway,
I think PPPPP is still way more popular than Aliens Area and Super Smartphone combined.
Really?
It's not my personal opinion. That's just my observation of people commenting.
Let's see if they finish stuff up there, and let's see if Aliens Area and Super Smartphone turn it around. Like
Uncle Bones sales are also relatively high for PPPPP.
Okay. Well, what of these comments did you want to highlight?
Jujutsu Kaisen's author Gege Akutami.
It was his latest trip to Japan, the last chance I'll ever have to see Brad Pitt in person. Aw.
Why would he think he gets to meet Brad Pitt? What makes him think that?
Maybe if does Brad like Jujutsu Kaisen?
If anybody,
it probably doesn't mean meet, but it probably means like, you know, at those PR events that they do for movies, that they always have a bunch of audience there. He probably meant like, oh, I could have gone to one of those, but I didn't. I think Brad Pitt was there promoting a movie about a bullet train.
Yes.
So yeah, that must have been it. Who knows? Maybe he'll go there again.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Why would he?
It's not like he's retired.
He didn't
say I'm retired after this. I'm not going to do any more PR tours.
So. By the way, if anybody, I think he has the highest chances to meet Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh really? Why's that?
Because he literally mentions her in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh right, because what's her name? Nobara mentions wanting to look like her at some point, right? No, that's not it. No, it's not Nobara. It's Itadori is
saying that's his dream babe.
Yeah, he likes Jennifer Lawrence. Yeah. Didn't he say that he thought Jennifer Lawrence had a shapely butt or something like that?
He says
I never would have considered that.
He literally says, "I like tall women with a big butt," and that's what the other guy.
Right, I forget his name, but he also
to give him the Predator handshake.
Yeah.
He can't resist it.
He invents a backstory for the two of them. Even though they never met each other before. He's like, we're just like childhood friends. We're just like brothers now. Which seems to be like a weird, like, it's a, you know how a lot of video game characters, they'll have an active ability and then a passive ability? So Itadori's active ability is being a sorcerer and being able to use the powers of Sukuna. And his passive ability is that he makes he makes people bond with him. They imagine how it would be like if he was in their life the whole time. They're like, best friends now. Anyway, there's also a comment from the new manga.
That's enough.
The author says, "I want to make a seriously dope and funny manga." Well, who wouldn't?
Hello, here I am. Mission statement.
Yeah.
Please be kind to me. Roboco's author, Shuhei Miyazaki, mentions that Polska Demizu from Promised Neverland made a shout out to him in his or her new one shot. I don't even know what genre they are, but it's not that unsurprising because Miyazaki used to draw the gag version of Promised Neverland.
Okay. So it's the continuation of that connection. I think you've mentioned it before, but I never read it.
He always made,
because you talked about that's why Matsuo looks so much like Rei.
Yes, that's exactly why.
He used to draw the joke version of Rei, and he just also added him into his own thing.
Also, Mama always looked like Roboco. She always had that face, and I think she was always a little bit thicker.
Okay, yeah.
The question is, does this mean that a new work by the Neverland artist is the horizon?
Could be, yeah.
Because normally these super established authors and artists only start publishing one-shots when they're like, this could be my new thing. And right?
Yeah, it makes sense.
They don't have to. They don't have to participate in the Karaku Cup and get told like that they don't belong here.
Yeah, they just go. Hey, I got something.
Also, Yuki Tabata, Black Clover's author.
My wife is doing
his
better
wife
now,
is doing so much better. It's such a relief, but also he's making it sound like he's getting laid all of the time. Like
she's being
trying to
quote unquote playful. That's what I need. ...
He's trying to work and getting like a secret BJ under the table or something like that.
Oh no. That's why there weren't as many backgrounds this
I see.
This
couldn't
week.
even.
Yeah, he couldn't do the outlines of it. He just left it blank. Then the assistants had no clue what to fill in. They just have nothing.
Scroll down to Super Smartphones author Hiroki Tomisawa. This comment is a complicated word puzzle in the Japanese version.
Did you solve it?
I didn't see it, but it's funny that they have to say that it's just too complicated.
Yeah, don't even try it.
The manga itself could do with a few more puzzles.
Hideo Shinkai's final comment. And a happy ending. I'm blessed that I was able to complete another wonderful series. Volume 3 will be released in October. Wait, another? What did he have before this?
He had several. He had two series. I think the first one also got cancelled within 2 tankobons, and the second one lasted for 2 years.
Okay. Let's see what Wiki says about him. He wrote Earthchild, Kyubu, Dodge the Ball, Soul Catchers, and Lightwing. I've never heard of any of these other things.
I think Soul Catchers is the one that lasted longer.
I've seen a picture of Soul Catchers before.
People say it was better, but also
not great.
Not great.
Yeah. There's a dinosaur on it, on the cover. Do you think that's Dinosaur Earthchild?
If only.
If only. That's what the story really should have been about. Dinosaur Earthchild. Anyway, any news or other stuff you'd want to say before we close out?
No, that's all I had to say.
All right.
Looking forward to next week
talking to you. Yeah, we will reconvene next week.
Another new series
Witch Watch,
starting.
One Piece. Another new thing. Chainsaw Man coming back next week.
Ooh.
So many things to catch up with next week. Until
then, see if I'm not tired anymore next
week. Hopefully you won't be tired. Until then, I've been Personal Fine.
I'm Max Hamburger.
And our day of destiny is only just beginning.